Hey story enthusiasts! This is H. Potter bringing you another gem. In this video, we present to you Forgotten by the Wizarding World. Harry Potter built an army of magical creatures and conquered Britain. If you enjoy these stories as much as we enjoy sharing them, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Let's dive in. Chapter 1, The Exile's Path. Harry Potter stared at the Daily Prophet headline and fought the urge to set it on fire. His fingers twitched toward his wand as the moving photograph showed Kingsley Shacklebolt shaking hands with a smug-looking Lucius Malfoy. Reformed Death Eater donates 10,000 galleons to Reconstruction Fund. Bloody hell, Harry muttered, tossing the paper onto the kitchen table of Grimmauld Place. For months since the Battle of Hogwarts, and already the Ministry was sliding back into its old ways. Money talked. Death Eaters walked. Some things never changed. His fireplace flared green. Hermione's head appeared in the flames, hair somehow frizzier in fire form. Harry! Did you see Malfoy buying his way back into society? Yeah. He ran a hand through his perpetually messy hair. Kingsley promised things would be different. He's under enormous pressure. Hermione's voice had that familiar reasonable tone that lately set Harry's teeth on edge. The economy's in shambles, and taking blood money from Death Eaters is the answer. People died, Hermione. Fred, Remus, Tonks, I know that. Her voice cracked slightly. But the rebuilding has to be funded somehow. It's complicated. Harry grabbed his jacket. It's actually pretty simple. They're selling out. Where are you going? Hagrid's. At least he still remembers which side we were fighting for. Harry stepped through the flue to the three broomsticks before Hermione could lecture him further. The pub fell silent as he entered. He kept his head down, ignoring the whispers that followed him out the door. Fame had never been comfortable, but lately it felt suffocating. The walk to Hagrid's hut cleared his head somewhat. Hogwarts Castle loomed in the distance, scaffolding still visible on the partially repaired towers. McGonagall had invited him to return for his final year, but the thought of sitting through Transfiguration while Death Eaters roamed free seemed pointless. Smoke rose from Hagrid's chimney. Harry quickened his pace, then froze as he heard shouting. Absolutely not. Yeah, can do this. Hagrid's voice boomed. Ministry orders, Hagrid. A clipped, official voice responded. The Regulation of Magical Creatures Department has concerns about your collection. Harry sprinted the remaining distance. Outside Hagrid's hut stood three ministry officials in crisp robes, wands drawn. Hagrid blocked his doorway, face red with anger. What's going on here? Harry demanded. The lead official turned. Mr. Potter. This doesn't concern you. When you're threatening my friend, it absolutely concerns me. Harry drew his wand casually. What's this about? Put that away, boy, the man snapped. We're conducting an inspection under the new Magical Creature Safety Act. Safety Act. Harry, Hagrid looked miserable. They say I can keep Buckbeak anymore. Or any dangerous creatures without special permits that cost more galleons than I'll ever see. That's ridiculous. Buckbeak was cleared years ago. The official pulled out a scroll. The Hippogriff's exemption has been revoked under Section 7 of the new Act. All Class XXX creatures or higher now require Ministry certification and inspection. Hagrid's the Care of Magical Creatures professor. He's more qualified than your entire department. Half qualified, you mean, muttered one of the other officials with a smirk. Harry's wand hand twitched. What did you say? Mr. Potter, the lead official said warningly, interfering with ministry business is an offense. So is discrimination, Harry shot back. This is clearly targeted harassment. The law applies to everyone. Except rich purebloods buying exemptions, I bet. The man's face tightened. One more word and I'll have you brought in for questioning. Harry laughed. You can try. The tension stretched between them like a rubber band ready to snap. Then the hut door burst open and Buckbeak emerged, sensing the hostility. The hippogriff screeched, talons scraping the ground aggressively. The officials jumped back. "Control that beast." Buckbeak's fierce orange eyes locked with Harry's. For a split second, Harry felt something strange, a connection, a wave of the hippogriff's protective rage washing over him. Without thinking, Harry stepped forward and bowed slightly, never breaking eye contact. Buckbeak immediately calmed, trotting to Harry's side. "See?" Harry said. "Perfectly safe with proper handling." "That's not the point," the official insisted. The law is wrong." Harry moved slightly, positioning himself between the officials and Hagrid's hut. Hagrid fought against Voldemort while the Ministry was busy denying his return. He deserves respect, not harassment. The lead official raised his wand. "This is your final warning, Potter. Step aside." Something inside Harry snapped. All the frustration of the past months, watching Death Eaters walk free, seeing the promises of a better world evaporate, feeling increasingly disconnected from his friends who just wanted to move on, crystallized into a cold fury. "No," Harry said simply. "I don't think I will." The official fired a stunning spell. Harry deflected it without a word, his nonverbal magic surprising even himself. The second official attacked. Harry conjured a shield that sent the spell rebounding, knocking the man off his feet. "Harry! Dawn, fight the Ministry!" Hagrid shouted. But it was too late. The lead official was calling for backup on a communication device. Harry's mind raced. He had seconds to decide. "Hagrid, they'll just come back with more. Take Buckbeak and anything else they might confiscate and go to the forest. Now." "But Harry, I'll handle this. Trust me." Hagrid hesitated, then whistled to Buckbeak. "Come on, ya lot," he called into the hut, and Harry glimpsed several crates of creatures inside. "Let's go for a walk." As Hagrid gathered his most precious creatures, Harry maintained his shield, blocking further spells from the officials. The strange connection he'd felt with Buckbeak lingered, a new awareness humming in his magical core. When Hagrid disappeared into the tree line, Harry dropped his shield and disapparated, reappearing instantly behind the officials. Before they could react, he cast 3 rapid stunning spells, dropping them unconscious to the ground. Harry knew he'd crossed a line. Attacking Ministry officials, even in defense of a friend, would have consequences. But standing by while the Ministry persecuted Hagrid for being half-giant wasn't an option. He sprinted toward the forbidden forest, following Hagrid's massive footprints. The forest swallowed him, ancient trees blocking out the afternoon sun. He found Hagrid in a small clearing about half a mile in, sitting on a fallen log looking miserable. "I'm sorry, Hagrid. I shouldn't have escalated things." "Not your fault," Hagrid sighed. "Been coming for weeks, this has. New regulations targeting half-breeds, and their dangerous creatures. Thought it'd be different after the war, but..." He trailed off. "It's Umbridge's work," Harry realized. "Has to be. She's back at the Ministry. Head of the creature department now." "What? That's insane. After everything she did?" Hagrid shrugged his massive shoulders. "She claimed she was under the Imperius during the war. Ministry cleared her." Harry kicked a tree in frustration. "So that's why Kingsley looked so uncomfortable when I asked about creature rights last month." Buckbeak nudged Harry's shoulder, and again that strange sensation washed over him, a kind of wordless communication, a sharing of emotion. "He likes ya," Hagrid observed. "Always has. I feel something when he touches me," Harry said slowly. "Like I can sense what he's feeling." Hagrid's beetle-black eyes widened. "Really? That's dead unusual, that is. Even for you, Harry." Before Harry could respond, they heard voices calling from the direction of the hut. Reinforcements had arrived. They'll search the forest, Harry said. We need to go deeper. I know a place, Hagrid replied. Centaur territory. They don't much like wizards, but they might help us. They gathered Hagrid's creatures, a collection of bowtruckles, nifflers, and what looked suspiciously like fire crab eggs, and headed deeper into the forest. Harry's mind raced, trying to process everything. He was now effectively an outlaw for defending Hagrid. He couldn't go back to Grimmauld Place, it would be the first place they'd look. Hagrid, what's happening to the Ministry? Kingsley was supposed to fix things. Good intentions don't always survive politics, Hagrid said grimly. The old families still have gold and influence. And folks are scared after the war, easy to convince them that regulations will keep them safe. They walked in silence for a while. The forest grew darker, ancient trees towering overhead. Harry felt eyes watching them from the shadows, but no creature approached. Even the dangerous denizens of the forest seemed to give Hagrid a wide berth. Suddenly, an arrow thudded into a tree trunk inches from Harry's head. Hagrid froze. Centaurs, he whispered. Hagrid, keeper of keys. You bring a wizard into our realm. The deep voice came from behind a massive oak. A chestnut-bodied centaur stepped into view, bow drawn. Megorian, Hagrid nodded respectfully. We seek sanctuary. Centaurs do not involve themselves in wizard affairs. Harry stepped forward. It's not just wizard affairs anymore. The Ministry is targeting all magical beings they consider less than human. Megorian's eyes narrowed. And why should this concern us? We have protected our territory for centuries. Because they're getting bolder, Harry replied. Today it's Hagrid's creatures. Tomorrow it could be Centaur lands. Harry Potter speaks truth. A familiar voice came from the trees. Firenze emerged, his palomino body gleaming even in the dim forest light. The stars have shown darkness gathering again, not the darkness of the Dark Lord, but a creeping shadow of prejudice. You were banished from our herd for aiding humans, Megorian said coldly. And yet I returned to warn my kin, Firenze replied. The Ministry has already begun remapping the forest boundaries. They plan to restrict Centaur territory to the northwestern quarter only. Murmurs of anger came from the trees as more centaurs appeared. How do you know this? Megorian demanded. I have friends at Hogwarts who saw the plans, Firenze explained. The humans believe that by concentrating magical creatures in controlled areas, they can prevent another war. Harry felt sick. They're creating reservations. Just like Umbridge always wanted. Hagrid looked devastated. They can do that. This forest's been Centaur land for thousands of years. They are already doing it, Firenze said grimly. The Acromantula colony has been given notice to relocate or face extermination. The mere people in the Black Lake have been restricted to the deepest waters only. This is why we need to stand together, Harry urged. Magical beings outnumber wizards, but we've always been divided. If centaurs, mere people, goblins, house elves, all magical beings united. You propose war, Potter? Megorian asked sharply. I propose alliance. Self-defense. The Ministry's counting on everyone looking out for themselves. If we work together, we... Megorian's voice was skeptical. You are a wizard. I'm also someone who knows what it's like to be used and discarded when convenient, Harry said bitterly. The wizard world needed me to defeat Voldemort. Now they're happy to forget the promises they made. Firenze studied Harry intently. Something has changed in you, Harry Potter. Your magic, it has an unusual resonance. Harry described the connection he'd felt with Buckbeak. It's never happened before, but since the battle at Hogwarts, I've felt different. The prophecy spoke of power the Dark Lord knew not, Firenze mused. Perhaps this is part of it, awakened after his final defeat. Power? Harry frowned. I just felt what he was feeling. A rare gift, Firenze explained. Some centaurs possess it, the ability to share magic and understanding with other magical beings. No wizard has shown such ability in recorded history. Megorian stamped a hoof. If what you say is true about the Ministry's plans, we must hold council. You may remain here until we decide. As the centaurs retreated to deliberate, Harry slumped against a tree trunk. The enormity of his actions hit him. He was now a fugitive, having attacked Ministry officials. Hagrid, I'm sorry I got you into this. Rubbish. Hagrid patted his shoulder, nearly knocking Harry over. Yeah, stood up for what's right. Your parents would be proud. Harry wasn't so sure. He pulled out his communication mirror, a modified version of the one Sirius had given him. Hermione had enchanted several after the war to keep the friends connected. Hermione Granger, he said clearly. Her face appeared almost instantly, looking frantic. Harry. Where are you? The Ministry's looking everywhere. I'm safe. What are they saying? That you assaulted officials conducting routine business. Hermione looked both worried and exasperated. Ron's dad says there's talk of charges, obstruction, assault on Ministry personnel. They were harassing Hagrid because he's half-giant, Harry said flatly. Umbridge's new regulations. Hermione bit her lip. I know. It's awful. But Harry, attacking officials isn't the answer. You need to come in, explain what happened. Kingsley will listen. Will he? He's taking money from Malfoy and putting Umbridge back in power. Politics requires compromise, not with Death Eaters. Not with torturers. Harry's temper flared. You still have the scars on your hand, Hermione. We all do. She looked away. What's your plan then? Become a fugitive? If I have to. The Ministry's targeting all magical beings they consider dangerous or inferior. Someone needs to stand up to them. And that someone has to be you. Again. Frustration edged her voice. Harry, we just finished one war. And we're about to let everything we fought for slip away. Harry ran a hand through his hair. Look, I'm not asking you to join me. Just, don't help them find me. A commotion sounded behind Hermione. She glanced over her shoulder and whispered urgently, Aurors are at Ron's place asking questions. I need to go. Be careful. You too. And Harry? Whatever you're planning, remember who you are. The mirror went blank. Harry tucked it away, her words echoing in his mind. Who was he, really, without a prophecy defining him? Without a Dark Lord to defeat? Just Harry, who couldn't stand by while injustice happened. A twig snapped behind him. Harry whirled, wand ready, to find Luna Lovegood standing there, looking completely unsurprised to find him in the middle of the forbidden forest. Luna? What, how did you find me? The Botruckles told me, she said matter-of-factly, gesturing to the small tree guardians now poking their heads from Hagrid's pockets. They're quite chatty once you know how to listen. You understand them? Luna tilted her head. Not their words exactly. More their intentions. They're worried about their trees being cut down for the Ministry's new training facility. Harry stared at her. You know about that too. Daddy's been investigating the Ministry's creature regulations for weeks. They raided our home yesterday, confiscated his notes. Her normally dreamy expression hardened slightly. They said his documentation of Ministry corruption was seditious material. Luna, you shouldn't be here. I'm in serious trouble. I know. That's why I came. She sat beside him. The Nargles told me you'll need allies. Despite everything, Harry smiled. Luna's presence was oddly comforting, her acceptance of the bizarre as normal somehow made his current situation feel less overwhelming. They're right about that. Hagrid returned from checking on Buckbeak. Luna. What are you doing here? Luna explained about the raid on her father's home. The Quibbler was the only publication questioning the new creature regulations. They're silencing opposition, Harry realized. Just like last time. Further discussion was interrupted as the centaur herd returned. Megorian, flanked by a dozen armed centaurs, approached. Harry Potter. We have deliberated. Harry stood. And? We will not join your fight, Megorian stated. Harry's heart sank, but the centaur continued, not yet. But we grant you sanctuary in our territory while you gather strength. Firenze believes your new abilities may be significant. Firenze stepped forward. I have been permitted to train you, Harry Potter. If you truly can forge magical connections with other beings, it could change everything. What do you mean? Wizard magic and creature magic have always been separate paths, Firenze explained. If you can bridge them, combine the structured spells of wizards with the innate magic of magical beings, you could create power unlike anything seen before. Harry thought about the strange connection he'd felt with Buckbeak. Is that even possible? We shall see, Firenze replied. The stars speak of great change coming, led by one who walks between worlds. Luna slipped her hand into Harry's. That sounds like you. Megorian stamped a hoof. Remember, Potter. Our alliance is conditional. Prove that you truly stand for all magical beings, not just wizard interests. I understand, Harry nodded. Thank you. As the centaurs dispersed, Hagrid looked both worried and excited. So we're really doing this? Standing against the Ministry. They've left us no choice, Harry said quietly. But we'll need more allies than just centaurs. He turned to Luna. You said Bowtruckles told you where to find us. Can you really communicate with them? Luna smiled. In my way. I've always found it easier to understand creatures than people. That could be incredibly valuable. Harry felt the first stirrings of hope. Between your knowledge, Hagrid's creature connections, and whatever this new ability of mine is, we might have a chance. Don't forget the Thestrals, Luna added. They're quite intelligent, and most wizards can't even see them. Harry nodded, mind racing with possibilities. We need a secure location, somewhere to train, plan, and eventually bring more allies. There's an old centaur cave system near the heart of the forest, Hagrid suggested. Abandoned for centuries. Might work as a headquarters. As they discussed options, a massive spider emerged from the undergrowth. Harry and Hagrid raised their wands, but Luna simply stared with fascination. Aragog's son, Hagrid identified the Acromantula. Mozag's eldest. The spider clicked its pincers. Hagrid. The forest speaks of your conflict with the wizard authorities. Word travels fast, Harry muttered. We too have received ministry demands to relocate, the spider continued. Our colony has been here for decades. We will not leave. Harry stepped forward, fighting his instinctive fear of the giant arachnid. The ministry's targeting all of us. If we stand divided, they'll pick us off one by one. The Acromantula's multiple eyes focused on Harry. Our kind and centaurs have been enemies for generations. Then maybe it's time for new traditions, Harry suggested. What happens when the ministry drives the centaurs from their lands? Your colony will be next. The spider was silent for a long moment. What do you propose, Harry Potter? A coalition. Magical beings defending each other's territories. Starting with preventing the ministry from restricting centaur lands. You would have Acromantulas and centaurs fight side by side. The spider's tone held disbelief. I would have all magical beings recognize their common enemy, Harry replied. Ancient rivalries mean nothing if we all lose our freedom. The spider retreated slightly. I will convey your words to the colony. If the centaurs truly stand with us, perhaps we can overcome old hatreds. After the Acromantula disappeared, Hagrid looked at Harry with newfound respect. Trying to make peace between centaurs and acromantulas. That's either brilliant or completely mental. Probably both, Harry admitted. But we need everyone. They spent the rest of the day setting up a temporary camp. Luna conjured bluebell flames for warmth while Hagrid constructed a lean-to shelter large enough for the three of them. Harry set protective enchantments around the perimeter, not against magical creatures, but against the wizards who would soon be hunting them. As night fell, Firenze returned. The Ministry searchers have retreated for now, but they will return with more forces tomorrow. We should move deeper into the forest tonight. I need to understand this new ability first, Harry said. You said you could help me? Firenze nodded. It begins with listening beyond words. All magical beings share a connection to the fundamental energies of magic, but each species accesses it differently. How do I tap into that? Start with Buckbeak. You've already formed a partial bond. Harry approached the hippogriff, who was tethered nearby. After the customary bow, he placed his hand on Buckbeak's feathered neck. Immediately, the strange sensation returned, a swirl of emotions and instincts that weren't his own. Focus not on understanding his thoughts, Firenze instructed, but on feeling the way magic flows through him. Harry closed his eyes, concentrating. Beneath the surface emotions, he sensed something deeper, a current of wild, untamed power, completely different from wizard magic. Where his own magic felt like a controlled stream directed by his wand, Buckbeak's was a constant hurricane of instinctive energy. I feel it, Harry whispered. It's incredible. Now, without breaking that connection, cast a simple spell, Firenze directed. Something basic. Harry raised his wand. Lumos. Instead of the usual gentle light at his wand tip, a blinding flash erupted, illuminating the entire clearing like daylight. Everyone shielded their eyes. Nox. Harry gasped, and the light vanished. What happened? You channeled both magics simultaneously, Firenze explained, looking impressed. Your wizard spell, amplified by hippogriff magic. That was just Lumos, Luna said, blinking away spots. Imagine what would happen with more complex spells. Harry stared at his wand. Could I do this with any magical creature? In theory, Firenze replied. Though each species' magic will affect your spells differently. Centaur magic enhances divination and healing. Acromantula magic strengthens bindings and barriers. And if he combined multiple sources? Luna asked. Firenze's expression grew serious. No wizard has ever done such a thing. The power would be unprecedented. Harry thought about the implications. This ability could change everything, but it also meant forming genuine connections with magical beings, not just using them as power sources. I won't exploit this, he said firmly. If I can learn to use this ability, it will be to help all magical beings, not just myself. Firenze nodded approvingly. That intention may be why the ability awakened in you, Harry Potter. The universe rarely grants such gifts to those who would misuse them. A distant howl interrupted their discussion. Hagrid stiffened. Wolves. But not regular wolves, that's a werewolf pack. This far into the forest? Harry frowned. The Ministry's been driving them from their usual territories, Luna explained. Daddy interviewed some last month. They've formed nomadic packs for protection. Harry remembered Lupin, how society had shunned him despite his gentle nature. How many others like him were out there, hunted and persecuted? We should contact them, he decided. Werewolves understand better than anyone what it means to be considered less than human by the Ministry. It's not full moon, Hagrid noted. They'll be in human form, easier to talk to. I'll go, Luna volunteered. Werewolves are particularly sensitive to threatening postures. You two are too combat ready. Not alone, Harry insisted. I'll take a thestral, she replied. They trust me. Before Harry could argue further, a silver lynx Patronus leapt into their midst. Kingsley Shacklebolt's deep voice emanated from it. "Harry, what have you done? The Ministry is in uproar. Turn yourself in now, before this escalates further. I can still protect you, but only if you come willingly. This is your only warning." The Patronus dissolved, leaving tense silence behind. "He doesn't mention protecting Hagrid," Harry noted bitterly. "Or stopping Umbridge's regulations. What will you do?" Firenze asked. Harry looked around at their small group, a half-giant, a centaur, a quirky witch, and himself, hardly the makings of a revolution. But something had to change. "Send a message back," he told Firenze. "Tell Kingsley I'll turn myself in when the Ministry repeals the anti-creature regulations and removes Umbridge from office." "That's a declaration of opposition," Firenze warned. "Yes," Harry agreed. "It is." Later that night, Harry sat alone by the small fire, keeping watch while the others slept. His mirror activated, showing Ron's face. "Harry, mate, what the bloody hell? The Ministry's saying you attacked officials and fled with Hagrid." "That's about right," Harry confirmed. "They were targeting him for being half-giant, Ron." Ron looked torn. "I get that, but, they're saying you're forming some kind of creature army against the Ministry. Sounds mental when they say it." Harry smiled grimly. "Not as mental as it sounds. Have you seen the new regulations? They're systematically stripping rights from every magical being that isn't a pure-blood wizard. Dad says it's temporary. Security measures after the war." "That's what they always say," Harry replied. "How's Hermione?" "Stressed. The Auror office questioned her for hours about your whereabouts." Harry felt a pang of guilt. "I never wanted to put you two in that position." "I know." Ron hesitated. "Look, I joined Auror training to make a difference, like we talked about. Change things from inside, yeah. Can't do that if I'm on the run too." The implied rejection stung, but Harry understood. "I'm not asking you to join me, Ron." "Good, because I think you're making a massive mistake." Ron's frustration bubbled over. "We just finished fighting one war. People are still burying their dead. And now you're starting another." "I didn't start this," Harry said quietly. "But I won't let them undo everything we fought for." Ron shook his head. "Just, be careful, okay? And know that whatever happens, you're still my best mate." The mirror went dark. Harry stared into the flames, feeling the weight of his choices. Unlike the war against Voldemort, this time there was no prophecy forcing his hand. This was his choice. A rustling in the bushes brought him to his feet, wand ready. A small creature emerged, a house elf Harry didn't recognize, trembling with fear or cold. "Harry Potter, sir." The elf's voice quavered. "Yes. Who are you?" "Nippy, sir." "Hogwarts elf." The small creature twisted her hands anxiously. "Nippy comes with message from the castle elves." "What message?" "We is hearing about Harry Potter defending magical creatures. The castle elves want to help." She lowered her voice to a whisper. "Bad Ministry people came to Hogwarts today. They say house elves must be registered and tagged like animals. Professor McGonagall argued, but they say it is new law." Harry's jaw tightened. "Tagging elves? That's slavery, plain and simple." "Many elves wish to fight this," Nippy continued. "But we needs leadership. We remembers how Harry Potter freed Dobby." The mention of Dobby sent a pang through Harry's heart. "I'll help however I can, Nippy. Castle elves can bring supplies, information. We can go where wizards cannot." Her large eyes shone with determination. "We can be Harry Potter's eyes and ears." Harry knelt to be at eye level with the elf. "I don't want servants, Nippy. I want allies. Equals in this fight." Nippy straightened proudly. "Then we is allies, Harry Potter." As they discussed how the house elves could help, Harry felt the first real sense that this impossible task might actually work. Individually, each magical species had weaknesses the Ministry exploited. Together, combining their unique magics and abilities, they could be formidable. The following morning, Luna returned with surprising news. She'd made contact with the werewolf pack, led by a former friend of Lupin's named Callum. "They've agreed to meet you," she told Harry. "They're skeptical, but curious about a wizard who stands with magical beings." "When?" "Tonight. Neutral territory at the edge of the forest." Hagrid looked worried. "Ministry's bound to have patrols there." "That's why we need a distraction," Harry decided. "Something to draw their attention elsewhere while we meet with the werewolves." Luna smiled mysteriously. "I might have arranged that already. The Bowtruckles are quite angry about the Ministry marking their trees for removal." "What did you do?" Harry asked, both concerned and impressed. "Let's just say a few hundred angry Bowtruckles will be demonstrating their displeasure with the Ministry's forest survey team around sunset." Hagrid chuckled. "Small they may be, but their claws are sharp." As they prepared for the meeting, Firenze continued helping Harry explore his new abilities. By midday, Harry could successfully channel the magic of 3 different creatures, Buckbeak, a Bowtruckle, and one of Hagrid's salamanders, each producing unique enhancements to his spells. "The key is respect," Firenze emphasized. "You're not taking their magic but sharing a connection. The moment you begin thinking of magical beings as tools, the connection will falter." Harry nodded. "I understand. It's not about power, it's about unity." By evening, they were ready. Nippy brought news that Ministry forces were indeed patrolling the forest edge, but the promised Bowtruckle demonstration drew most of them away, creating the window they needed. Harry, Luna, and Firenze made their way to the meeting point, a small moonlit clearing. Harry felt exposed after days within the dense forest, but Firenze assured him they were still protected by ancient wards. 6 figures emerged from the shadows on the opposite side. 5 men and 1 woman, all bearing the telltale scars of werewolves who had survived multiple transformations. Harry Potter, the leader, stepped forward. Callum was a weathered man in his 40s with graying hair and amber eyes. "Luna said you wanted to talk." "Thank you for coming," Harry replied. "I understand your caution." "Caution has kept us alive," Callum said flatly. "The Ministry's new werewolf containment initiative would have us locked in secure facilities during full moons." "Prisons, you mean?" "Precisely." Callum studied Harry with interest. "Luna claims you're building a coalition of magical beings against Ministry oppression." "Ambitious." "Necessary," Harry countered. "Divided, we'll all fall. Together, we have a chance." "Pretty words from a wizard," one of the other werewolves scoffed. "Your kind has persecuted ours for centuries." "Not all wizards," Luna interjected gently. "Remember Remus Lupin." Callum's expression softened slightly. "Remus was a good man. He spoke highly of you, Potter. He taught me that our prejudices, not our conditions, define who we are," Harry said. "The Ministry is reinforcing the worst of those prejudices." "And what exactly do you propose?" Callum asked. "Alliance. Combining our strengths. We protect each other's interests against Ministry encroachment." "And the endgame?" Callum pressed. "What's your vision, Potter?" Harry hesitated, then answered honestly. "A new system. One where all magical beings have representation and rights, not just pure-blood wizards." The werewolves exchanged glances. Finally, Callum spoke again. "Bold. Revolutionary, even. Perhaps that's what's needed. You realize you're talking about overthrowing the established magical government?" Callum raised an eyebrow. "That's not protest, that's rebellion." Harry met his gaze steadily. "If that's what it takes to ensure justice for all magical beings, then yes. A slow smile spread across Callum's face. Remus said you had your father's recklessness and your mother's heart. I'm starting to see what he meant. He extended his hand. The werewolf packs of Britain will hear your proposal. I can't promise more than that yet. Harry shook his hand. That's all I ask. A sudden clamor in the distance, shouts and flashes of spell light, cut their meeting short. The distractions turned into a confrontation, Firenze warned. We should go. Callum nodded. We'll be in touch through Luna's channels. Be careful, Potter. You've just put yourself at the top of the Ministry's most wanted list. As they hurried back toward the forest depths, Harry glimpsed Ministry forces clashing with what appeared to be hundreds of small, nimble creatures darting between trees. The Bowtruckles had indeed created quite a distraction. They had nearly reached the safety of the deep forest when a spell struck the ground near Harry's feet. He spun to see a squad of Aurors pursuing them. There he is, one shouted. Potter. Surrender now. Harry recognized the voice with a jolt. Dawlish, one of the more aggressive Aurors he'd encountered before. Run. Harry urged Luna and Firenze. I'll hold them off. We stick together, Luna countered, already casting shield charms. 5 Aurors advanced, wands raised. By order of the Ministry of Magic, you are under arrest for assault on Ministry officials, obstruction of justice, and inciting rebellion among magical creatures. Harry thought quickly. Traditional spells wouldn't be enough against trained Aurors. Drawing on his new skills, he reached out mentally to the forest around them. Immediately, he felt the presence of the Bowtruckles, hundreds of them, angry at the intrusion on their trees. Concentrating, Harry cast a modified shield charm while maintaining the connection to the Bowtruckles. The result was extraordinary. Instead of a simple barrier, a dome of living wood and foliage erupted from the ground, encasing the 3 of them in protective layers of magically reinforced forest matter. The Auror spells splashed harmlessly against it. Harry heard their confusion. What kind of magic is this? Never seen anything like it. Harry wasn't finished. Still linked to the Bowtruckles' magic, he cast an Impunio Jinx, but instead of simply flinging objects at their attackers, the spell animated fallen branches and roots, which writhed up from the ground to entangle the Aurors. Let's go while they're distracted, Harry urged. They fled deeper into the forest, the sounds of struggle fading behind them. When they finally stopped, both Luna and Firenze were staring at Harry with astonishment. That was incredible, Luna breathed. You combined wizard magic with Bowtruckle magic perfectly. The magical synergy is even stronger than I anticipated, Firenze observed. With practice, there's no telling what combinations might be possible. Harry was about to respond when a sharp pain lanced through his scar, not the familiar burning of Voldemort's connection, but something new. He gasped, dropping to one knee. Harry. Luna knelt beside him. What's wrong? The pain subsided quickly. I don't know. For a second it felt like feedback. Too much magical energy. A limitation to be mindful of, Firenze noted. Even your enhanced abilities have constraints. When they returned to their camp, they found Hagrid in conversation with the Acromantula from earlier. The massive spider turned at their approach. Harry Potter. Our colony has deliberated. We accept your proposal of alliance. That's excellent news, Harry said, surprised by the quick decision. The Ministry attacked our outer webs today, the spider explained. They burned 2 egg sacs. The time for neutrality has passed. The gravity of the situation settled over Harry. What had begun as defending Hagrid was rapidly evolving into open conflict with the Ministry. We need a more secure base, he decided. Somewhere to coordinate everyone. The cave system I mentioned, Hagrid suggested again. It's vast, could house representatives from different species, store supplies. Harry nodded. Show us tomorrow. For now, we should rest. Tomorrow will be busy. As the others settled in for the night, Harry took first watch again, mind racing with plans and concerns. He'd committed to a path that would make him an enemy of the government he once fought to save. The irony wasn't lost on him. The mirror in his pocket activated. Expecting Ron or Hermione, he was surprised to see Neville's face. "Harry. Finally got through to you. Neville. How did you?" "Luna left me instructions before she disappeared. Listen, things are getting bad. The prophet's painting you as unhinged, claiming you've gone dark after defeating Voldemort. Let me guess, traumatized hero turns against society. Something like that." Neville's expression was serious. "But that's not why I contacted you. I've been working at St. Mungo's in the herbology department, and I've seen what's happening. They're registering all part-human healers, forcing identity badges and restrictions on mere-people consultants, centaur herbalists, even half-goblin medics." "Umbridge's work," Harry growled. "It's bigger than her. There's a whole faction pushing this, the Magical Heritage Preservation Initiative. They're claiming non-human magic is unstable and dangerous." Harry thought about the power he'd just channeled. "They're afraid. With good reason, if what I've heard about your forest confrontation is true." Neville smiled slightly. "Did you really create a living wooden shield and animate the entire forest floor? Word travels fast. The Aurors are telling everyone it was dark magic." "I knew better." Neville hesitated. "I want to help, Harry." "It's dangerous, Neville. You've got a career, a future where my friends are hunted for defending what's right isn't a future I want." Neville's voice grew stronger. "Gran always said standing by while others suffer is the same as causing the suffering yourself." Harry felt a surge of affection for his friend. "We could use a herbologist. And someone with medical knowledge. I'll bring supplies. Just tell me where to meet you." They arranged a rendezvous point, and Harry ended the call feeling both grateful and concerned. Every person who joined them was another life at risk. The responsibility weighed heavily. Luna approached, sitting beside him. "You're worried. People could get hurt. Die, even. Because they followed me." "They're following the cause, Harry. A cause that matters." She took his hand. "Everyone who joins does so by choice. That doesn't make it easier." "It's not supposed to be easy," she said simply. "That's how you know it matters." Her quiet confidence steadied him. Luna had always possessed a clarity of purpose that cut through confusion. "Get some rest," she suggested. "I'll take watch. I'm too keyed up to sleep." Luna studied him for a moment. "You know, there's something I've been wanting to try. My mother was researching the magical properties of dreams before she died. She believed that certain meditation techniques could help wizards access deeper magical awareness through lucid dreaming. How would that help?" "Your new abilities involve connecting with magical energies beyond yourself," she explained. "Dream meditation might help you strengthen those connections while letting your body rest." Harry was skeptical but willing to try anything. Luna guided him through a series of breathing exercises, having him focus on the magical currents flowing through the forest around them. "Magical energy isn't just in creatures," she explained softly. "It's in the earth, the trees, the air. Everything is connected." As Harry's consciousness drifted, he became aware of the magic surrounding him in a way he'd never experienced, a vast, intricate web of energy, pulsing and flowing through every living thing. Each creature glowed with its unique magical signature, even the trees and plants had their own subtle resonance. In this half-dreaming state, Harry sensed something else, distant but powerful magical nodes throughout Britain. The magical communities and creature territories, linked by threads of shared magic. When he awoke hours later, the sun was rising. Luna sat nearby, watching him curiously. "You were glowing," she said. "What?" "While you slept. A faint green light, like the forest was lending you its energy." She tilted her head. Did you dream? Harry described the magical web he'd perceived. Luna nodded as if this confirmed something. The old druids called it the magisterium, the underlying fabric of magic that connects all magical beings and places. Most wizards lost the ability to perceive it centuries ago when they began relying entirely on wand magic. You think that's what I'm tapping into with these new abilities? I think you're rediscovering something very old, Luna replied. Something the Ministry would rather keep forgotten. Their conversation was interrupted by Hagrid's return. He brought news that a contingent of goblins had entered the forest, claiming to seek audience with Potter's coalition. Goblins? Here. Harry was surprised. They rarely leave their territories. These ones did, Hagrid confirmed. Led by one called Ragnarok. Say they want to hear your proposal directly. Goblins were notoriously neutral in wizard conflicts, focused primarily on their banking interests. Their involvement could be a significant development, or a trap. Where are they now? Centaurs are keeping an eye on them at the forest edge. Wouldn't let them further without your approval. Harry thought quickly. Let's meet them. But cautiously. With Firenze and Hagrid flanking him, Harry approached the goblin delegation. 6 goblins stood in a clearing, wearing the formal attire of Gringotts representatives. Their leader stepped forward, a particularly fierce-looking goblin with silver streaks in his black hair. Harry Potter, he said without preamble. I am Ragnarok, Chief of Security for Gringotts Bank and Elder of the Ironfoot clan. Welcome to the forest, Harry replied with a small bow, remembering goblin customs. Though I'm surprised to find goblins so far from Gringotts. Ragnarok's sharp teeth showed in what might have been a smile. These are unusual times. Word of your coalition has reached goblin ears. And you're interested in joining? Interested in evaluating, Ragnarok corrected. The Ministry's new regulations affect goblin interests as well. They now demand oversight of all goblin wizard financial transactions. An intolerable intrusion. Harry nodded. They're systematically restricting the freedoms of all magical beings. Indeed. Ragnarok studied Harry intently. Rumors speak of unusual magic at your command. Magic that combines wizard spells with creature abilities. The rumors are true. Show us. Harry hesitated only briefly. Establishing trust required openness. He reached out with his newfound sense, connecting to the forest floor beneath them. Then he cast a simple transfiguration spell, intending to create a small stone table. What emerged instead was a living table formed from the earth itself, inlaid with goblin-style metal patterns that Harry hadn't consciously designed. The forest magic had apparently responded to the presence of the goblins, incorporating elements that would appeal to them. Ragnarok's eyes widened. The goblins murmured among themselves in their own language. Impressive, Ragnarok finally said. You channel earth magic like a goblin stone singer, yet with wizard direction. I'm still learning, Harry admitted. Each magical being's energy affects spells differently. Ragnarok nodded thoughtfully. The ancient texts speak of such abilities, from a time before the great divisions between magical peoples. He stepped closer. What exactly do you propose, Harry Potter? What is your vision for this coalition? Equality. Protection. A united magical community where all beings have representation and rights. Noble sentiments, Ragnarok said skeptically. But goblin history is filled with broken wizard promises. I'm not asking for blind trust, Harry replied. I'm offering partnership. The Ministry threatens all of us. Together, we're stronger. And afterward? If you succeed in forcing Ministry reforms? Not reforms, Harry clarified. Replacement. A new council with representatives from all magical beings. No single species in control. The goblins conferred briefly. Ragnarok turned back to Harry. We will observe for now. If your actions match your words, goblin support may follow. He handed Harry a small silver coin. A communication token. Speak my name to it when you wish to contact me. It was a cautious alliance at best, but Harry recognized the significance. Goblin involvement would lend credibility to their cause. Thank you, Harry said, pocketing the coin. I hope to earn your trust. As the goblins departed, Luna approached from where she'd been watching. That went well, she observed. Maybe. Goblins are hard to read. They're practical, Luna said. They wouldn't have come at all if they weren't seriously considering alliance. Harry nodded, hoping she was right. Hagrid, show us those caves now. If we're adding more allies, we need a proper base. The cave system exceeded Harry's expectations. Located beneath an ancient hill deep in the forest, it featured dozens of interconnected caverns, underground streams, and multiple hidden entrances. Natural magical properties shielded it from most detection spells. Centaurs used it centuries ago during wizard conflicts, Forenza explained. It has been forgotten by most. It's perfect, Harry decided. Large enough for representatives from different species, defensible, and secluded. They spent the day setting up the main cavern as a command center. Hagrid crafted rough furniture while Luna created magical illumination that adjusted to the visual preferences of different species. Harry established protective enchantments, incorporating elements of centaur and acromantula magic to strengthen them. By evening, Neville arrived, laden with supplies. He gaped at the cavern system. Blimey, Harry. When you said you had a base, I wasn't expecting an underground fortress. It's still a work in progress, Harry admitted. But it'll serve our needs. Neville set down his packs. I brought healing supplies, rare herbs, and some of my experimental magical fertilizers. Oh, and news from the outside. What's happening? They've named you undesirable number 1 again, Neville said grimly. Posters everywhere. 1,000 galleon reward for information leading to your capture. Harry shrugged. I've had worse prices on my head. There's more. Neville looked troubled. They've arrested Mr. Lovegood. Charged him with spreading sedition through the Quibbler. Luna paled but remained composed. They're trying to silence anyone supporting our cause. It won't work. And, Neville hesitated. What? Harry prompted. Ron joined the task force assigned to capture you. The news hit Harry like a physical blow. Ron. His best friend. He thinks he can protect you from the inside, Neville added quickly. Keep the worst elements from going too far. Harry nodded, but the betrayal stung nonetheless. And Hermione? Publicly distanced herself from your radical actions but disappeared 3 days ago. Ministry thinks she's joined you. She hasn't, Harry frowned. At least not that I know of. A commotion at one of the tunnel entrances interrupted them. Nippy the house elf appeared, leading a group of about 20 more elves, all looking nervous but determined. Harry Potter, sir. Nippy called. We comes as promised. Hogwarts elves want to join the alliance. All of you. Harry was stunned. Not all Hogwarts elves, an older elf clarified. Some still bound by old thinking. But we who remember Dobby's courage, we choose freedom and alliance. Harry felt a lump in his throat at the mention of Dobby. You're all welcome here. But understand, I'm not your new master. You'd be equal allies. The elves exchanged glances, clearly struggling with the concept but nodding resolutely. We understands, Nippy declared. No masters. Only comrades. As the elves integrated into the growing base, Harry pulled Neville aside. With the house elves joining, we need to organize. Create some structure. Like a government? Neville asked. More like a council. Representatives from each species, making decisions together. Harry ran a hand through his hair. I never planned to lead a revolution, Neville. Few great leaders do, Neville replied with surprising wisdom. They just recognize when something needs to be done and step up. By nightfall, the cave system bustled with activity. House elves established a kitchen and infirmary. Centaurs set up a stargazing chamber in a cavern with a natural skylight. Acromantulas reinforced the tunnels with their webs. Everyone contributed according to their abilities. Harry gathered the group's core members in the main cavern, representatives from each species who had joined them. It was time to formalize their alliance. We all come from different backgrounds, with different histories and abilities, he began. But we share a common enemy, a ministry determined to strip away our rights and freedoms. Separately, they can pick us off one by one. Together, we have a chance. Firenze stepped forward. The centaurs recognize Harry Potter as friend and ally. His magic grows stronger as he learns our ways. The Acromantula representative clicked its mandibles in agreement. The colony acknowledges this alliance. Potter speaks truth about ministry threats. One by one, representatives from each group voiced support: house elves, werewolves, via a communication charm from Callum, and even a tentative acknowledgement from Ragnarok's goblin faction. We need a name, Luna suggested. Something to rally behind. Various suggestions were offered, some grandiose, others practical. Finally, Neville spoke up. How about simply the Unity? Because that's what we represent. Unity across magical kinds. The name resonated with everyone. The Unity was born. As the meeting concluded, Luna pulled Harry aside. There's something we need to discuss. About my father. We'll rescue him, Harry promised. Once we're stronger. It's not just about rescuing him, Luna replied. He had information, research he was compiling on ancient magic. The kind you're rediscovering. I think that's why they arrested him. What kind of research? Historical evidence that wizards and magical beings once shared magic freely. That the divisions, wands for wizards only, restrictions on creature magic, were artificial constructs created during the founding of the ministry itself. Harry's eyes widened. That would mean the entire structure of magical society is based on an intentional separation. Precisely. Luna's normally dreamy expression was focused and serious. The question is, why? What were they afraid of? The implications were staggering. If Luna was right, Harry wasn't discovering something new but rediscovering something intentionally suppressed. Their discussion was interrupted by a house elf rushing in. Harry Potter. Ministry forces entering forest. Many wizards with detection equipment. They're searching for us, Harry realized. Everyone, maintain silence. The cave's natural protections should shield us from magical detection, but they might have other methods. The group fell quiet, listening. Far above, faint sounds of movement could be heard, voices, footsteps, the occasional magical ping of detection spells. Harry turned to Firenze. We need to know what they're doing. Can the centaurs observe without being seen? Firenze nodded. Our scouts move silently. I will send word. As Firenze left, Harry noticed something odd about one of the house elves, a nervous-looking elf hanging back from the others. The elf caught Harry's gaze and immediately looked away. Luna, Harry whispered. That elf in the corner. Do you recognize him from Hogwarts? Luna glanced over casually. No. I know most of the castle elves. Harry's instincts, honed by years of danger, prickled. Keep an eye on him. Something doesn't feel right. Before he could investigate further, Firenze returned with troubling news. The ministry has brought Dementors. They're using them to search the forest. Dementors? Neville paled. I thought they were all confined after the war. Apparently the ministry kept some for security purposes, Firenze replied grimly. They're particularly effective at detecting concealed humans. Harry thought quickly. The cave's protections might hide them from magical detection, but Dementors operated differently, sensing emotions and souls rather than magic. Everyone who can produce a Patronus, be ready, he instructed. The rest stayed deep in the caves. He turned to the suspicious elf, who now looked positively terrified. You. What's your name? The elf trembled. Nobly, sir. Where did you come from, Nobly? You're not with the Hogwarts elves, are you? The elf's eyes darted around, seeking escape. Nippy stepped forward. He arrived just before we came to caves. Said he was from Hogsmeade Kitchens. Harry kept his wand casually at his side. Interesting. There are no elf-staffed kitchens in Hogsmeade. Who sent you, Nobly? The elf broke, diving for the nearest tunnel. Harry's nonverbal impediment Jinx caught him mid-flight, freezing him in place. Search him, Harry ordered. Nippy approached the immobilized elf and gasped. He carries wizard tracking charm. Very powerful. Harry's heart sank. That's how they found us so quickly. He's been leading them right to us. The spy elf whimpered. Nobly had no choice. Master threatened Noble's family. Who's your master? Auror Dawlish. He said find Harry Potter's hideout or Noble's children would be taken for ministry work camps. Harry felt sick. Using an elf's family as leverage was despicable. We need to move. Now. They know our location. But the caves, Neville started. Are compromised, Harry finished. Grab only essential supplies. We need a new location immediately. As the group hastily gathered their belongings, Harry approached Firenze. Is there anywhere else we could go? Somewhere the ministry wouldn't think to look. Firenze considered. There is one possibility. The mere people of the Black Lake have extensive underwater caves. The ministry rarely considers underwater locations. Can you arrange contact? Luna might be better suited. She has built rapport with water beings. Harry nodded and found Luna organizing the evacuation. I need you to contact the Mare people. See if they'll shelter us temporarily. Luna's eyes lit up. I can try. Their chieftainess helped me document water sprites last year. We got on rather well. Go quickly. Take a thestral, they're faster than brooms. As Luna departed, Harry turned to the immediate problem, escaping before the Dementors found them. The tracking charm from the spy elf had been neutralized, but the ministry forces were too close to avoid detection for long. We need a diversion, he decided. Something to draw them away from our escape route. Neville stepped forward. I might have something. He pulled a vial of murky liquid from his supplies. Experimental fertilizer. Causes explosive growth in magical plants. The forest floor is covered in dormant spores. Perfect, Harry grinned. Can you create a disturbance to the north while we escape south? Consider it done. Neville grabbed a broom. I'll meet you at the lake. While Neville prepared his diversion, Harry organized the evacuation. Smaller creatures would travel with centaurs. The acromantulas would move independently through their web networks. House elves could apparate once outside the forest's anti-apparition wards. As they finalized plans, distant screams echoed from above. The Dementors were drawing closer. Time to go, Harry announced. Stay together, stay quiet, and head for the southern exit. They moved through the tunnels in tense silence. Harry led the way, his wand illuminating the path ahead. Behind him, creatures of all kinds moved in unprecedented cooperation, ancient enemies united by necessity. At the southern cave mouth, Harry paused to check for ministry forces. The forest beyond looked clear, but Dementors could be hiding among the trees. I'll go first, he whispered. If it's clear, I'll send up green sparks. If there's trouble, red. Harry slipped out into the forest, senses heightened. The familiar cold of Dementors permeated the air, but distantly, they seemed concentrated to the north where Neville would soon create his diversion. Cautiously, Harry advanced. 10 meters. 20. The forest remained quiet except for natural sounds. He raised his wand to signal the all clear. A voice behind him froze his blood. "Don't move, Harry." He turned slowly to find Ron Weasley standing among the trees, wand leveled at his chest. His friend wore Auror trainee robes, his expression a mixture of determination and regret. "Ron." Harry kept his voice steady. "I wondered if you'd be among the search party." "Volunteered specially," Ron replied. "Thought it would be better if I found you than someone like Dawlish." "And now that you have." Ron swallowed hard. "I need you to come in, mate. This has gone too far. Attacking officials, hiding in the forest, gathering creatures. You sound like a dark wizard, Harry." "Is that what they're saying? That I've gone dark? What else are they supposed to think?" Ron's frustration broke through. "You've got acromantulas and werewolves following you. You're attacking Aurors." "I'm defending those the Ministry wants to oppress," Harry countered. "Including Hagrid. Including Lupin's kind." Ron's wand wavered slightly. "The regulations are temporary. Post-war security, that's what they told you to say," Harry cut him off. "But you've seen the reality. Tagging house elves. Restricting centaur territories. You know it's wrong. There are proper channels, which have failed. The same corrupt system that allowed Voldemort to take over is still in place, Ron. Different faces, same prejudices." Movement behind Ron caught Harry's attention. Their group was beginning to emerge from the cave. Harry needed to keep Ron distracted. "Where's Hermione?" he asked. Neville said she disappeared. Ron's expression darkened. "She's researching something. Wouldn't tell me what. Said it was better if I didn't know." He refocused on Harry. "Stop changing the subject. You need to come with me, Harry. I can help you explain your actions." "I can't do that." "Then you leave me no choice." Ron raised his wand higher. "I'm sorry, but," a massive explosion to the north interrupted him. Trees and vegetation erupted skyward in a spectacular display of magical growth. Neville's diversion had begun. Ron turned instinctively toward the commotion. Harry acted instantly, disarming his friend with a silent Expelliarmus. "I'm sorry too," Harry said, catching Ron's wand. "But I can't let the Ministry continue down this path." He tossed the wand far into the underbrush. "We won't hurt you, but we are leaving." Ron's face flushed with anger and betrayal. "So that's it? You're choosing them over us? Over me and Hermione?" "I'm choosing what's right," Harry replied quietly. "The door's always open if you change your mind." He fired green sparks into the air, and the evacuation began in earnest. Creatures poured from the cave entrance, streaming south toward the lake. Ron watched in astonishment as centaurs, house elves, and even a few small acromantulas moved past in coordinated fashion. "You really have built an army," he murmured. "Not an army," Harry corrected. "A community." As the last allies exited the cave, Harry backed away. "Your wand's over there," he gestured toward the bushes. "By the time you find it, we'll be gone. Don't follow us, Ron." Before his friend could respond, Harry turned and sprinted after the others, heart heavy with the weight of another broken bond. The journey to Black Lake proceeded without further incident, the Ministry forces diverted by Neville's spectacular distraction. By dawn, they reached the lake's edge, where Luna waited with several merpeople surfaced nearby. "They've agreed to shelter us," she reported. "They have extensive cave networks beneath the lake that can accommodate land dwellers. The Ministry rarely thinks to look underwater." "How do we get down there?" Harry asked. "Not everyone can breathe underwater." Luna smiled. "The Merchiftanus provided this." She held up a pearlescent shell. It creates a bubble of air around non-water breathers. It's how they've welcomed land visitors for centuries. The Mere people guided them to an underwater entrance large enough for even Hagrid to pass through. The shell's magic enveloped them in shimmering bubbles that moved with them, providing air while they traversed the underwater passages. The submerged cave system was remarkable, a blue-lit labyrinth of coral-encrusted tunnels leading to vast air-filled caverns. Natural magic kept the air fresh and the temperature comfortable. "This is incredible," Harry marveled as they emerged into the main cavern. "I had no idea this existed beneath the lake." "Wizards rarely bother to learn about Mermish civilization," Luna explained. "They assume Mere people are primitive because they don't use wands." The Merchiftainess approached, an imposing figure with iridescent scales and an elaborate coral crown. She spoke in Mermish, which Luna translated. "She says these caves have sheltered magical refugees for centuries. During goblin rebellions, centaur persecutions, even the first war against Voldemort. The Ministry doesn't know they exist." Harry bowed respectfully. "Thank her for her generosity. Tell her we won't forget this alliance." As Luna translated, the Merchiftainess studied Harry with ancient, knowing eyes. She spoke again, at length. "She says she senses the old magic awakening in you," Luna translated. "Magic from before the divisions. She says her people have kept the old ways alive, waiting for the day when the artificial boundaries between magical beings would dissolve." Harry looked around at their unlikely coalition, centaurs conversing with house elves, acromantulas helping arrange supplies, werewolves in human form discussing territory maps with Mere people. Species that had been enemies or strangers for centuries, working together. It wasn't an army yet. But it was a beginning. "Tell her we're going to change everything," Harry said quietly. "Tell her the divisions end with us." As Luna translated, Neville joined them, still covered in plant matter from his diversion. "The Ministry's going to double down after this," he warned. "We've embarrassed them. Made them look incompetent." "Good," Harry replied. "Let them react with more restrictions, more persecution. Each overreach just proves our point and brings more allies to our side." Luna finished translating and turned to Harry with a thoughtful expression. "The Merchiftainess has offered to help you develop your water-based magical connections. She says Mermish magic would complement your growing abilities." Harry nodded gratefully. "I'll take all the training I can get. We'll need every advantage." As their allies settled into the underwater sanctuary, Harry stood at the entrance to a tunnel leading to a viewing bubble that looked out into the depths of the lake. The shadowy shapes of the giant squid passed in the distance. Despite the chaos of their evacuation and the pain of Ron's betrayal, he felt something he hadn't experienced in months: purpose. The wizarding world had forgotten him, or rather, forgotten what he truly stood for. They'd wanted a convenient hero who would defeat their enemy and then fade into the background, allowing them to return to comfortable prejudice and systemic injustice. They were about to receive a pointed reminder. In the days ahead, they would train, recruit, and build their strength. The unity would grow from a desperate alliance into a force for change. And Harry Potter, once their celebrated savior, would return as something far more powerful, a leader who could unite all magical beings against oppression. The revolution had begun. Chapter 2, The Gathering Storm. Harry woke to the gentle sound of water lapping against stone. For a moment, he forgot where he was, the azure glow filtering through the cave entrance disoriented him. Then it all came flooding back. The Ministry's persecution. Their narrow escape. Ron pointing his wand at Harry's chest. "Morning," Luna said, approaching with 2 steaming mugs. "The Mere people showed the house elves how to harvest underwater herbs. They've made something like tea." Harry accepted the mug gratefully. "Thanks. How's everyone settling in?" "Surprisingly well. The centaurs have established a stargazing pool where the water surface acts like a lens. The acromantulas are creating a silk communication network between caverns. And Neville's already started an underwater garden using some kind of bubble soil technique." Harry sipped the tea, a strange but not unpleasant herbal concoction with hints of seaweed and mint. Any word from the surface? Luna nodded, her expression growing serious. Nippy made a quick reconnaissance. The prophets claiming you've weaponized magical creatures against wizard society. They're calling us Potter's Dark Army. Harry snorted. Dark Army? We've got house elves teaching mere people how to make treacle tart. Fear-mongering works, Luna shrugged. But there's better news too. The regulations against werewolves triggered protests in 3 wizarding villages. People are starting to question the ministry's motives. Harry set down his mug. That's something at least. He stretched, working out the kinks from sleeping on the cave floor. We need to establish a proper command structure. If we're actually building a revolution, we can't just make it up as we go. Already on it, Luna replied, pulling out a scroll of waterproof parchment. I've drafted a charter for what we're calling the Unity Council. 1 representative from each species, equal voting rights, with you as coordinator. Harry raised an eyebrow. Coordinator? We needed a title that doesn't sound like ruler or commander. You're coordinating our efforts, not controlling them. Smart, Harry acknowledged. What's first on the agenda? Supply lines. We can't stay underwater forever. We need secure ways to get food, medicines, information. A splash interrupted them as a merperson surfaced at the cave entrance, speaking rapidly in Mermish. What's she saying? Harry asked. Luna listened intently. Ministry boats on the lake surface. They're dropping detection devices. Harry jumped to his feet. They're searching for us already. That was fast. Too fast, Luna agreed, frowning. Someone must have tipped them off about the lake. They hurried to the central cavern where allies were already gathering, alerted by the merpeople's warning system. How many boats? Hagrid asked as they entered. 3, according to the scouts, Firenze replied. Standard ministry search pattern. Harry assessed their options. The caves are supposed to be undetectable. Let's wait and see if their sensors pick up anything. And if they do? Neville asked. Then we'll need a new plan, Harry admitted. But let's not panic yet. The Merchiftanus approached, speaking in the surface version of Mermish, harsh and screechy above water but understandable. Our magic hides these caves, she assured them. But wizard detection has improved since last war. We should prepare contingencies. Harry nodded. Agreed. Neville, work with the house elves to pack essential supplies. Firenze, coordinate with the centaurs on possible forest routes if we need to evacuate. I want everyone ready to move at a moment's notice. As the others dispersed to their tasks, Ragnarok approached Harry. The goblin had been quiet since their arrival at the underwater sanctuary, observing more than participating. Potter. A word. Harry followed him to a smaller side cavern where they could speak privately. Your leadership has been adequate so far, Ragnarok began, his gravelly voice echoing off the stone walls. But evacuation and hiding will not win this conflict. I'm aware of that, Harry replied evenly. Are you? Because I see no strategic offensive planning. The ministry attacks, you retreat. They hunt, you hide. Harry felt his temper flare but kept it in check. We've been focused on survival and building our coalition. A coalition that achieves nothing is merely a group of fugitives, Ragnarok countered. The Goblin Nation has not committed our full resources because we see no path to victory. What would you suggest then? Ragnarok's sharp teeth gleamed in the blue light. Strike where they are vulnerable. The ministry's strength comes from 3 sources: their control of wizard transportation, their monopoly on magical communication, and their economic dominance through Gringotts. Harry considered this. You're suggesting we target infrastructure. I suggest you think like a revolutionary, not a fugitive, Ragnarok corrected. The longer you allow the Ministry to control the narrative and the resources, the stronger they become. Despite the Goblin's confrontational tone, Harry recognized the wisdom in his words. They'd been reactive so far, responding to Ministry moves rather than setting the agenda. You're right, Harry admitted, surprising the Goblin. We need to be more strategic. But I won't endanger civilians or destroy infrastructure people depend on. There are ways to disrupt without destruction, Ragnarok replied, his expression calculating. The Ministry's Flu Network Control Center is minimally staffed at night. Their owl post office relies on a central routing enchantment that could be modified. The Daily Prophet's printing press uses magic that could be, creatively redirected. You've given this some thought, Harry observed. Goblins understand power systems, Ragnarok stated matter-of-factly. We've had to, as a survival mechanism. Their discussion was interrupted by Nippy, who arrived into the cavern looking agitated. Harry Potter, sir. Ministry boats dropping strange devices in water. Metal balls that sink to bottom. Harry exchanged alarmed glances with Ragnarok. What kind of devices? Revelation orbs, Ragnarok growled. Advanced detection magic combined with goblin metallurgy. They can sense magical concealments. Will they find us? Eventually. The cave's protections are old but not infallible. Harry made a quick decision. Gather the council representatives. We need to move faster than planned. Within minutes, the species representatives assembled in the central cavern, Firenze for the centaurs, Callum for the werewolves, who had arrived overnight, the Merchiftanus, Ragnarok for the goblins, Nippy for the house elves, the Acromantula leader known as Aracor, and Luna representing the few wizards among them. Harry stood before them, keenly aware of the responsibility weighing on him. The Ministry's closing in faster than expected, he began without preamble. We need to shift from defensive to offensive strategy. Ragnarok has proposed targeting key Ministry infrastructure to disrupt their operations. Murmurs spread through the group, some approving, others concerned. What sort of targeting? Firenze asked cautiously. Disruption, not destruction, Harry clarified. We interrupt their communications, modify their transportation networks, challenge their control of information. Callum nodded approvingly. Hit them where it hurts without giving them excuse to label us terrorists. Smart. Precisely, Harry agreed. We also need to expand our coalition. The more beings that join us, the harder it becomes for the Ministry to dismiss us as a fringe movement. The underwater folk of the North Sea have expressed interest, the Merchiftanus offered. They suffer under Ministry fishing restrictions. The forest dwellers beyond Hogwarts boundaries would join for similar reasons, Firenze added. Dryads, forest trolls, even the Sphinx Pride. Good, Harry nodded. Luna and I will draft formal alliance proposals. But first, we need to address the immediate threat. He turned to the Merchiftanus. How long before those detection devices penetrate your concealments? Hours, perhaps. Not days. Then we move tonight, Harry decided. Not everyone, that would be too noticeable. A small team for our first strategic action. What's the target? Neville asked from the side of the chamber. Harry met Ragnarok's gaze. The Flu Network Control Center. We're going to send the Ministry a message they can't ignore. The rest of the day passed in a flurry of preparation. Harry worked with Luna and Ragnarok to develop their plan, while others prepared for a potential full evacuation if needed. By dusk, a strike team had been assembled, Harry, Neville, Luna, 2 house elves including Nippy, one of the younger centaurs named Maelstrom who could pass through human doorways, and Ragnarok himself. The Flu Network Center operates with a skeleton crew at night, Ragnarok explained as they gathered for final briefing. For wizards, standard security wards. The Master Control Crystal regulates all Flu connections in Britain. And you're sure we can modify it without permanently damaging the network? Harry pressed. Goblin magic helped create the original network, Ragnarok replied with a hint of pride. What our magic helped build, it can also adjust. Remember, we're not destroying anything, Harry emphasized to the team. We're sending a message and making a very specific change to the network. Luna held up a crystal she had been enchanting. This will create a temporary override when connected to the master control. Every flow in Britain will broadcast our message simultaneously, and afterward, the network will reconfigure to allow free passage for non-human magical beings. The Ministry restricts flow access. Harry asked, surprised. Of course they do, Nippy squeaked indignantly. House elves can only use flow with master permission. Centaurs and goblins require special permits that cost hundreds of galleons. Harry shook his head in disgust. Another restriction I never knew about. The privileged rarely notice the barriers others face, Luna said softly. As night fell, they made final preparations. The house elves would apparate them to a location near the ministry, bypassing most external security measures. From there, they would infiltrate the maintenance entrance that Ragnarok's intelligence indicated was least guarded. One last thing, Harry said as they prepared to depart. If we encounter ministry personnel, we subdue, we don't harm. Stunning spells only. We need public opinion on our side, and that means clean hands. Everyone nodded in agreement. Harry took a moment to center himself, reaching out with his newly developing senses to connect with the magical energies of his teammates. He felt the quick, darting magic of the house elves, the earthy strength of the centaur, the deep, metallic resonance of Ragnarok's goblin magic, and the familiar human energies of Luna and Neville. Drawing these connections together, he cast a disillusionment charm over the group. The result was remarkable. Instead of the usual chameleon effect of a wizard's disillusionment, they each took on aspects of their surroundings with perfect clarity. Neville looked like he was made of the stone beneath his feet, Luna rippled like water, and the others blended similarly with elements that matched their magical signatures. "Blimey," Neville whispered, examining his stone-textured arm. "That's not your standard disillusionment. Combined magic," Luna explained. "Harry's channeling all our natural camouflage abilities through his spell." Harry felt a slight strain maintaining the connections but nodded confidently. "Let's move." Nippy and the other house elf, Mimsy, took hold of the group members. With a series of quiet pops, they disapparated from the underwater cave and reappeared in a narrow London alley a block from the ministry's service entrance. "This way," Ragnarok whispered, leading them toward an unremarkable maintenance door partially hidden behind rubbish bins. Service entrance for magical maintenance crews. Harry extended his magical senses, feeling for surveillance charms or guards. 2 wizards inside the door. Standard detection wards on the entrance. "How can you tell?" Neville asked. "I can feel their magical signatures," Harry explained, still somewhat surprised by this new ability. "It's like seeing heat patterns, but with magic." Ragnarok approached the door, running a long finger along its edge. "Simple locking charms. Nothing a goblin can't handle." He pressed his palm against the lock, murmuring in gobbledygook. The door clicked softly. "Wait," Harry cautioned. "The guards will notice an unauthorized entry." Luna stepped forward. "I have something for that." She pulled out a small silver device that resembled a tiny clockwork spider. "Daddy designed these to distract Raxperts, but they work brilliantly on humans too." She wound the mechanism and slipped it through the crack beneath the door. They waited tensely for a minute before hearing confused exclamations from inside, followed by the sound of footsteps moving away. "They'll be searching for the source of the distraction for about 5 minutes, Luna whispered. "It creates the impression of an intruder in the opposite direction." "Brilliant," Harry grinned, pushing the door open carefully. They slipped inside, finding themselves in a utilitarian maintenance corridor. Following Ragnarok's lead, they navigated through service passageways, avoiding the main halls where late-night ministry workers might still be present. Their enhanced camouflage made them nearly invisible in the dimly lit corridors. 2 levels down, Ragnarok directed. "The Flu network control is housed below the transportation department. They descended a narrow spiral staircase, emerging into a corridor with a single door at the end, marked FLOO Network Authority, authorized personnel only. Harry sensed the magic beyond the door. 2 wizards inside. The control crystal gives off a strong magical signature, like a miniature sun. Nippy tugged Harry's sleeve. Nippy and Mimsy can help. House elves can enter without triggering alarms. Ministry never thinks to ward against elves. Harry nodded. Good idea. Can you create a distraction inside? The house elves grinned mischievously. We is very good at distractions. They disappeared with faint pops. Seconds later, shouts of surprise came from inside the control room, followed by a crash and several bangs. The door flew open as 2 wizards rushed out, wands drawn, looking wildly around the corridor. Something's attacking the crystal, one shouted. Get security, the other responded, running past their disillusioned group without seeing them. The moment both wizards were gone, Harry led the team into the control room. At its center stood a magnificent crystal structure, pulsing with golden light, suspended in a magical field. Around it, dozens of smaller crystals orbited like satellites, each representing a connected FLOO network point throughout Britain. Beautiful, Luna breathed. Nippy and Mimsy reappeared, looking pleased with themselves. We caused no damage, Nippy assured them. Just knocked over chairs and created spark bangs. Excellent work, Harry commended them. Ragnarok, how long do you need? The goblin approached the crystal, studying its configuration. 5 minutes to alter the access permissions. Another 3 to implant the message distribution. Luna, the override crystal. She removed her specially enchanted crystal from her bag. Ready. Neville, Maelstrom, watch the door. We need warning if security arrives. As Ragnarok and Luna began their work on the master crystal, Harry maintained awareness of the magical signatures throughout the nearby corridors. He could sense the 2 control room wizards returning with at least 4 security personnel. Company coming, he warned. 2 minutes at most. Ragnarok worked with impressive speed, his long fingers dancing over the control panel surrounding the crystal. Luna carefully integrated her override component, muttering incantations that sounded more like songs than spells. Access permissions reconfigured, Ragnarok announced. Any magical being can now use the FLOO network. Message integration nearly complete, Luna added. Just binding it to the distribution cycle. Harry felt the approaching security team drawing closer. 30 seconds. Luna made a final adjustment. Done. Activate it now. No, Harry decided. We set it on a timer. Midnight, when most people are home but still awake. Maximum audience. Ragnarok set the timer with a few quick gestures. Midnight it is. Time to go, Harry urged as the sound of running footsteps reached the corridor outside. They hurried to the emergency exit Ragnarok had identified in their planning. Just as they reached it, the main door burst open behind them, and security wizards flooded in. Intruders, one shouted, firing a stunning spell that passed harmlessly through Luna's water-like camouflage. Go! Harry ordered. As the others slipped through the exit, he turned back, focusing on his connection to the house elves' magic. With a snap of his fingers, he created a concussive wave of displaced air, similar to elf apparition but magnified, that knocked the security wizards off their feet without causing injury. He ducked through the exit, pulling it shut behind him. They raced through the emergency stairwell, emerging in a back alley behind the ministry building just as alarms began blaring inside. Nippy, get us out of here, Harry directed. The house elf gathered them close, and with a crack, they disapparated, reappearing at their designated rally point on the shore of a small pond several miles from Hogwarts. Did we do it? Neville asked, catching his breath. Ragnarok nodded, a rare smile showing his pointed teeth. At midnight, every FLOO connection in Britain will broadcast our message, and afterward, the network will be open to all magical beings for the first time in centuries. What exactly will the message say? Maelstrom asked, the young centaur shifting nervously from hoof to hoof. Luna smiled. Harry recorded it this morning. A simple declaration of the Unity's principles and demands. The Ministry's going to be furious, Neville noted. Good, Harry replied. We want them responding to us, not the other way around. They made their way to a secluded spot where a thestral waited to transport them back to the underwater caves. As they traveled, Harry couldn't help but feel they'd crossed a significant threshold. They were no longer just hiding and surviving, they had taken their first deliberate action against Ministry restrictions. The revolution had truly begun. When they returned to the underwater sanctuary, they were greeted with a mix of excitement and anxiety. The detection orbs had begun to penetrate the outer magical barriers of the cave system, though the core chambers remained secure for now. We need to accelerate our plans, Harry told the assembled council after reporting on their mission's success. The Ministry will intensify their search after tonight's message. We should be ready to evacuate within 48 hours. Where will we go? Firenze asked. Multiple locations, Harry decided. We've become too large to hide in one place. We'll establish regional sanctuaries, forest enclaves, underwater communities, mountain retreats. The Ministry can't search everywhere at once. Callum, the werewolf representative, stepped forward. My pack has connections with the werewolf communities in Scotland. They have hidden valleys in the Highlands where the Ministry hasn't had presence in decades. The deeper lakes have networks connecting to underwater caves throughout Britain, the Merchiftainess added. We could create a transportation system independent of Ministry control. Harry nodded appreciatively. Perfect. We'll create a decentralized network of safe havens, connected by secure communication and transportation methods. What about our strike teams? Ragnarok asked. We've proven we can hit Ministry targets effectively. We should continue the offensive. Agreed, Harry replied. But with focused objectives. We target restrictions and control systems, not people or essential services. As they discussed strategy, Luna approached Harry with a worn leather journal. I've been translating some of my father's research, she said quietly. I think you should see this. The journal contained notes and diagrams about ancient magical practices, from a time when the boundaries between wizard and creature magic were less defined. According to these records, Luna explained, wizards once learned directly from magical beings. Centaurs taught astronomy-enhanced spellcasting. Merepeople shared water manipulation techniques. Goblins instructed in metallurgical enchantment. What changed? The Wand Wars, Luna pointed to a passage. Around the 8th century, a faction of wizards began restricting wand use to humans only. They claimed other beings couldn't properly control wand magic, but the real reason was power consolidation. Harry frowned. They wanted to monopolize the most versatile magical tool. Exactly. And once wands became exclusively wizard instruments, the knowledge exchange stopped. Magical communities grew isolated, developing separate traditions instead of shared ones. Harry considered the implications. So what we're doing with combined magic isn't new, it's reclaiming something that was deliberately suppressed. And that's why the Ministry is so afraid, Luna concluded. Your ability threatens the very foundation of wizard supremacy. If magical beings can combine their innate powers with structured spellcasting, then the justification for restricting wands disappears, Harry finished. Their conversation was interrupted by excited shouts from the cave entrance. Hagrid burst in, dripping wet and grinning broadly. Harry! You need to see this. They followed him to the surface viewing bubble, where a magical projection showed scenes from across Britain. Every flue fireplace was glowing bright blue instead of green, and from each one, Harry's voice rang out clearly, people of magical Britain. I am Harry Potter. You know me as the one who defeated Voldemort. Now I speak to you on behalf of the Unity, an alliance of all magical beings fighting for equality and justice. The Ministry of Magic has implemented regulations that persecute centaurs, mere-people, house elves, werewolves, goblins, and other magical beings who share our world. These are not security measures, they are tools of oppression. Tonight, we've removed one such restriction. The FLU network is now open to all magical beings, regardless of species. This is just the beginning. We will dismantle every unjust barrier the Ministry has erected. To the Ministry officials listening, repeal the discriminatory regulations. Remove Dolores Umbridge from power. Recognize the rights of all magical beings to live freely. To everyone else, ask yourselves what kind of world you want to live in. One where magic unites us, or one where it divides us. The choice is yours. The Unity invites you to join us in building a better future for all magical kind. The message repeated once more before the fireplaces returned to normal, though now glowing with a slightly more purplish flame to indicate their new, universal accessibility. You did it, Neville said, clapping Harry on the shoulder. Every wizard household in Britain just heard our manifesto. And now we prepare for their response, Harry replied. The Ministry won't take this lying down. His prediction proved accurate. By morning, reports filtered in from their network of allies across Britain. The Ministry had declared a state of magical emergency. Aurors were conducting raids on any location with historical connections to magical creature communities. The Daily Prophet's headline screamed, Potter's terrorist movement attacks FLOO network. They're calling us terrorists for opening access to transportation, Harry noted bitterly as they reviewed the news. Standard authoritarian response, Luna observed. Label your opponents extremists while you're the one restricting freedoms. Ragnarok entered the council chamber, looking grimmer than usual. Potter. We have intelligence from Gringotts. The Ministry has ordered all goblin workers confined to the bank premises. No goblin is permitted to leave until further notice. They're taking hostages, Harry realized. Effectively, yes. Most of my kin are now prisoners in their workplace. Harry's jaw tightened. This changes things. We need to accelerate our plans. We also have a problem here, Forenza reported. The detection orbs have penetrated the outer cave barriers. We have perhaps 12 hours before they discover this sanctuary. Harry made a quick decision. Begin the evacuation now. Implement the decentralization plan immediately. While the various groups prepared to move to their designated safe havens, Harry gathered his closest allies, Luna, Neville, Hagrid, Forenza, and Ragnarok. The Ministry's escalation forces our hand, he told them. We need a major operation that will turn public opinion decisively in our favor while demonstrating our power. What did you have in mind? Neville asked. Harry turned to Ragnarok. How would you feel about liberating Gringotts? The goblin's eyes widened. You're proposing to take the bank. Not take it, free it. Return it to proper goblin control, without Ministry interference. Make it a sovereign territory again, as it was historically. Ragnarok stroked his pointed beard thoughtfully. Ambitious. Perhaps even reckless. But if successful, it would win you the unconditional support of every goblin in Britain. It's not just about goblin support, Harry explained. Gringotts represents wizard economic power. If we demonstrate that the bank functions better under full goblin control, more securely, more efficiently, it undermines the Ministry's claim that restrictions on magical beings are necessary. The logistics would be complex, Ragnarok warned. The Ministry will have increased security since your message. That's where our combined magic gives us an advantage, Harry countered. They're expecting traditional wizard attacks. They won't be prepared for what we can do. They spent the next several hours developing a plan while the evacuation continued around them. By mid-afternoon, most of their allies had departed for the scattered safe havens. Only a core group remained to execute what they were now calling Operation Goblin Freedom. As dusk approached, Harry gathered the strike team, himself, Luna, Neville, Hagrid, 3 house elves including Nippy, 2 centaurs, and Ragnarok with 5 goblin warriors who had been part of his security detail before joining the Unity. The plan is straightforward, Harry briefed them. We enter through the abandoned mining tunnels that connect to the lowest Gringotts vaults. Ragnarok's team neutralizes the security dragons. We make our way up to the main floor, where I'll announce our intentions to return the bank to goblin sovereignty. The trapped goblin workers will likely support us once they understand our purpose. What about Ministry forces? Neville asked. According to our intelligence, they've stationed 20 Aurors inside, with another rapid response team nearby. We'll need to isolate and contain them without causing casualties. And if they resist? One of the goblin warriors questioned. Non-lethal force only, Harry emphasized. This is a liberation, not an attack. Public perception is crucial. As night fell, they departed the underwater sanctuary for the last time, traveling via a combination of thestral flight and house elf apparition to reach the outskirts of London. From there, Ragnarok led them to a nondescript sewer entrance in a forgotten corner of the city. These tunnels were part of the original goblin mining network, he explained as they descended into the dank passageway. Before wizards restricted us to banking, goblins extracted precious metals from deep beneath London. The Ministry sealed most entrances centuries ago, but they missed a few. They traveled for nearly an hour through progressively more ancient tunnels. The modern sewer gave way to medieval brick, then rough-hewn stone, and finally natural caverns enhanced with goblin craftsmanship. Glowing crystals embedded in the walls provided dim illumination, revealing intricate carvings that told the history of goblin civilization. We're now beneath Gringotts, Ragnarok whispered eventually. The dragon pens are through that archway. I can sense 3 guardians. Harry extended his magical awareness, feeling the powerful, ancient magic of the dragons. Their signatures blazed like infernos compared to the more controlled magical energies of his companions. I might be able to communicate with them, Harry suggested. The way I've been connecting with other magical beings. Ragnarok looked skeptical. Dragons are not known for their cooperative nature, Potter. These dragons have been imprisoned and mistreated, Harry replied. They might welcome liberation as much as your people. Before Ragnarok could protest further, Harry stepped toward the archway, focusing on extending his consciousness toward the dragon signatures. He felt their pain and rage immediately. Decades of captivity and cruel treatment had left deep psychic scars. Stay back, he warned the others. This will be delicate. Harry entered the dragon pen alone, moving slowly and keeping his magical senses wide open. 3 massive dragons, a Ukrainian iron belly and 2 Welsh greens, were chained to the stone floor with heavy magical restraints. Their scales were pale from lack of sunlight, their eyes milky from the perpetual darkness. The iron belly sensed him first, turning its massive head toward Harry with a low growl. Instead of raising his wand, Harry opened his magical connection fully, projecting images rather than words: freedom, open skies, an end to pain, a mutual enemy in the wizards who had imprisoned them. The dragon's consciousness pressed against his, ancient, powerful, and suspicious. Harry felt the strain of maintaining the connection, but he persisted, showing the dragon memories of his own battles against those who abused power. Slowly, the dragon's hostility receded, replaced by cautious curiosity. The 2 Welsh greens, sensing the change in the iron belly's demeanor, turned their attention to Harry as well. Harry maintained the connection, carefully introducing his purpose: the liberation of the bank, freedom for all magical beings, including dragons. He offered a bargain: help now in exchange for release afterward. No more chains, no more darkness. The iron belly's response came as a mental impression rather than words: agreement, but with a price. Freedom must be immediate, not promised. Harry hadn't expected negotiation, but he adapted quickly. He projected acceptance, with a modification: freedom immediately after the main floor was secured. The dragons would need to help them reach that point first. After what felt like an eternity but was likely only minutes, the iron belly lowered its massive head in what Harry interpreted as agreement. The Welsh Greens followed suit. Harry turned to his waiting companions, his forehead beaded with sweat from the mental exertion. They'll help us. Ragnar, can your warriors remove their restraints? The goblin looked stunned. You actually communicated with them? In a manner of speaking, yes. They want freedom in exchange for help. Ragnar signaled his warriors forward. The chains have goblin-forged locks. We can remove them, but, he hesitated, are you certain about this, Potter? Releasing 3 dragons inside Gringotts? I didn't promise to set them loose inside, Harry clarified. Once we secure the main floor, we'll create an exit for them. They've agreed to restrain themselves until then. The goblin warriors worked quickly to unlock the enchanted chains while Harry maintained his tenuous mental link with the dragons, reinforcing the terms of their agreement. As the last restraint fell away, the iron belly stretched to its full height, nearly touching the cavernous ceiling. The 2 Welsh Greens likewise extended their cramped wings. For a tense moment, Harry feared the dragons might renege on the deal, but the iron belly lowered itself, offering its back to Harry in a clear invitation. Well, Harry said, somewhat stunned by this development, it seems we have a ride to the upper levels. With the dragons' cooperation, they bypassed the most heavily guarded sections of the underground vaults. Harry rode the iron belly, maintaining their mental connection, while Ragnar guided them through the labyrinthine passageways toward the central shaft that led to the main banking floor. As they approached the upper levels, they began encountering resistance. Security trolls fled at the sight of the dragons. A group of wizard guards fired stunning spells that bounced harmlessly off dragon hide before retreating in panic. The element of surprise won't last long, Neville warned as they emerged into a larger chamber just below the main floor. They'll have alerted the Auror contingent by now. Harry nodded, sensing increased magical activity above. This is where it gets complicated. The dragons stay here while we handle the main floor. Luna, are you ready with the announcement spell? She patted her pocket. Ready. It'll broadcast throughout the bank the moment I activate it. Nippy, can you and the other elves apparate directly to the main doors and seal them? We don't want ministry reinforcements arriving mid-operation. The house elf nodded confidently. We can do it, Harry Potter. Good. Hagrid, Neville, you're with me and Luna. Ragnar, position your warriors to secure the vault access points. Centaurs, guard this chamber and make sure our dragon allies remain calm. With roles assigned, Harry prepared for the final push. He focused his magical awareness, drawing on the connections to his diverse team. The combined magical signatures swirled around him like a multicolored aurora, elf, goblin, centaur, dragon, human, all harmonizing into a synthesis greater than its parts. Remember, Harry said as they prepared to ascend, minimal force against the Aurors. They're following orders, not necessarily supporting the policy. With a nod to his team, Harry cast a shield charm enhanced by the combined magic flowing through him. The result was spectacular, a dome of shimmering, multicolored energy that surrounded their group, incorporating elements from each magical tradition. Elf magic made it nearly undetectable. Goblin magic gave it metallic resilience. Centaur magic allowed it to move with celestial precision. Dragon magic infused it with raw power. They ascended the final staircase and burst onto the main floor of Gringotts. The banking hall was largely empty of customers due to the late hour, but about a dozen Aurors stood in defensive formation around the central counter. Behind them, goblin bank workers watched with wide eyes. The lead Auror stepped forward, wand raised. Potter. By order of the Ministry of Magic, surrender immediately. Harry ignored him, addressing the goblin workers instead. We're here to liberate Gringotts. The unity stands for the freedom of all magical beings. Your kin outside have joined us in fighting ministry oppression. A ripple of murmurs spread among the goblins. Ragnar stepped forward, raising his voice. Brothers. The ministry has made you prisoners in your own domain. We offer restoration of goblin sovereignty over Gringotts. No more wizard interference in our ancestral financial rights. This is sedition, the Auror captain shouted. All of you, drop your wands or we will use force. Now, Luna, Harry signaled. Luna activated her announcement spell. Her magically amplified voice resonated throughout the bank, attention all within Gringotts. This is the Unity. We are liberating this bank from ministry control and returning it to its rightful goblin custodians. All customers' funds remain secure. All accounts untouched. This is not a robbery, it is the restoration of goblin sovereignty. Any wizard who wishes to leave peacefully may do so. Any who resist will be detained without harm. The Aurors responded with a barrage of spells, which splashed harmlessly against Harry's enhanced shield. Taking advantage of their confusion, Nippy and the house elves apparat to the main doors, sealing them with elf magic that even wizards would struggle to counter. What followed was less a battle than a demonstration of combined magical power. When Harry finally dropped his shield to counterattack, he did so with precision rather than brute force. Drawing on house elf magic, he snaped his fingers, causing the Aurors wands to disappear from their hands and reappear in a neat pile behind Luna. With centaur-enhanced transfiguration, he transformed the marble floor beneath the Aurors into a soft, sticky substance that immobilized their feet. The Aurors, disarmed and immobilized, could only watch as the goblin bank workers, seeing Ragnarok and realizing what was happening, began abandoning their posts to join the Unity's side. The bank is ours. Ragnarok announced triumphantly. Gringotts returns to full goblin control. Harry maintained focus, sensing magical activity outside. Ministry reinforcements are gathering. We need to secure our position quickly. On his signal, Neville and Hagrid began escorting the detained Aurors to a secure room where they would be held comfortably but securely. Luna activated the second part of her announcement spell, which now broadcast externally to the gathering crowd outside. Gringotts Bank now operates as a sovereign goblin territory. All accounts remain secure. Regular banking services will resume tomorrow under full goblin management, without ministry interference. This peaceful transition demonstrates the Unity's commitment to restoration of rights, not disruption of essential services. Harry turned to Ragnarok. Time to fulfill our promise to the dragons. With the main floor secured, they returned to the chamber where the dragons waited restlessly. Harry reconnected with the Ironbelly's consciousness, showing it images of their success above and confirming it was time for the dragon's reward. We'll create an exit through the rear of the building, Harry explained to the others. There's less population density in that direction. Hagrid, can you help guide them away from the city afterward? Course I can, Hagrid replied enthusiastically. Got a cousin with a dragon sanctuary in Wales who'd be happy to give him a temporary home till they decide where they want to go. With Ragnarok's guidance, they located a service tunnel leading to the back of the Gringotts building. Using combined magic, goblin stone shaping, house elf spatial expansion, and Harry's wizard demolition spells, they created an exit large enough for the dragons to pass through. The Ironbelly went first, emerging into the night air with a roar of triumph that echoed across Diagon Alley. The Welsh Greens followed, their pale scales gleaming in the moonlight as they took flight for the first time in decades. Hagrid departed with them, his massive form somehow managing to look inconspicuous alongside the dragons as he guided them toward the countryside and away from Muggle populations. Back inside, Harry found Ragnarok organizing the goblin workers into a new management structure. The elder goblin's demeanor had completely transformed, where before he had been cautious and somewhat adversarial toward Harry, he now approached with unmistakable respect. Potter. You have done what no wizard has attempted in centuries. You have honored your word and restored goblin sovereignty over our financial domain. He extended a long-fingered hand. The goblin nation acknowledges our debt and formally joins the Unity as full allies. Harry shook his hand, feeling the significance of the moment. This is just the beginning, Ragnarok. Equal rights for all magical beings means exactly that, all beings. What happens now? Luna asked as she joined them, her announcement spells having completed their work. Now we negotiate from a position of strength, Harry replied. With Gringotts under goblin control, we've demonstrated both our capabilities and our intentions. The Ministry must take our demands seriously or risk further destabilization. Neville approached with news from outside. Ministries set up a perimeter around the bank. Kingsley Shacklebolt himself is out there, requesting to speak with you. Harry nodded. Good. It's time we had a direct conversation with the minister. He made his way to the main entrance, where Nippy partially unsealed the doors to create a speaking portal while maintaining their security. Outside, illuminated by wandlight and the glow of magical barriers, stood Minister Kingsley Shacklebolt, flanked by senior Aurors including, Harry noted with a pang, Ron Weasley. Harry, Kingsley's deep voice carried easily across the threshold. This has gone far enough. You've made your point. Now let's talk like reasonable people. I've been trying to talk for months, Harry replied evenly. You chose to respond with persecution and force. The regulations were never meant to be permanent, Kingsley insisted. They were security measures after the chaos of the war. Then prove it, Harry challenged. Repeal them. Now. Remove Umbridge from office. Recognize the rights of all magical beings. Kingsley sighed. You know I can't make those decisions unilaterally. There are procedures, committees, procedures that have consistently favored pure-blood interests for centuries, Harry cut him off. The time for gradual change has passed, Minister. We've proven tonight that magical beings working together are more powerful than wizard restrictions. By seizing the National Bank. Kingsley countered. That's not protest, Harry. That's insurrection. We didn't seize anything, Harry corrected. We restored Gringotts to its rightful governors. The goblins. Ask yourself why wizards felt entitled to control a goblin institution in the first place. From the corner of his eye, Harry noticed Ron shifting uncomfortably, his expression troubled as he listened to the exchange. Kingsley tried a different approach. What about the innocent wizards whose gold is stored here? Are their rights not important too? Every vault is secure, every Canute accounted for, Harry assured him. In fact, customers may find Gringotts operates more efficiently without ministry interference. The bank reopens tomorrow under full goblin management. This sets a dangerous precedent, Harry, Kingsley warned. What's next? The ministry itself? Harry smiled slightly. Only if necessary. We prefer to build something new rather than take over something broken. He could see his words landing with impact not just on Kingsley but on the gathered Aurors and the growing crowd of civilians beyond the ministry perimeter. Here's our offer, Harry continued. The ministry has 48 hours to begin repealing the restrictive regulations against magical beings. Show good faith by starting with the werewolf registration program and the house elf tagging initiative. Release Xenophilius Lovegood and any others detained for supporting creature rights. Do that, and we'll consider it a first step toward meaningful dialogue. And if we refuse? Kingsley asked, though his tone suggested he already knew the answer. Then the Unity will continue demonstrating that magical beings no longer require wizard permission to exercise their rights. Harry's voice carried across the crowd. Tonight we liberated Gringotts. Tomorrow it might be the Flu Network Control Center permanently. Or perhaps the Daily Prophet printing press. How long can the ministry maintain authority when its infrastructure operates outside its control? Murmurs spread through the crowd. Harry could see the strategic dilemma he'd created for Kingsley. A violent response would alienate the public and potentially damage essential magical services. Capitulation would weaken his position with the conservative factions in the ministry. The minister was trapped between opposing forces. 48 hours, Kingsley finally said. I'll bring your demands to the Wizengamot. But Harry, his voice lowered, this path leads to conflict that will hurt everyone in our world. There must be a better way. There was, Harry replied quietly. You chose not to take it. He signaled to Nippy to reseal the door, ending the conversation. As he turned back to the bank's interior, Luna approached with an update. "The Goblin communication network is remarkable," she reported. "Word of our success has already reached every Goblin community in Britain. They're pledging support to the Unity. And our people? Safely relocated to the new sanctuaries. Hagrid reports the dragons are clear of the city. We've accomplished everything we set out to do." Harry allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. "Not everything. Not yet. But we've made a start." Ragnarok joined them, accompanied by what appeared to be a Goblin Council of Elders. "Potter. The Goblin High Council has convened an emergency session and reached a decision. Gringotts Bank will now operate as the Unity's headquarters and treasury. Our gold, our security expertise, and our international connections are at the Coalition's disposal." "That's extremely generous," Harry said, somewhat taken aback by the scale of support. The eldest goblin stepped forward. "For centuries, we have waited for the proper moment to reclaim our sovereignty. You have given us that moment. The debt will be repaid in full." As they discussed logistics for securing their new headquarters, Neville called Harry over to a side chamber where he was monitoring communications from their network of allies. "You need to see this," he said, looking troubled. "Reports coming in from multiple sources. The Ministry's implemented a new strategy." He handed Harry a series of messages. As Harry read them, his expression darkened. The Ministry had begun targeting the families of known Unity supporters. Luna's father had been transferred from regular detention to the high-security cells formerly used for Death Eaters. The werewolf sanctuary where Callum's pack had relatives was under health inspection, with all residents confined. Even Hagrid's half-brother Grop was being hunted by a special containment unit. "They're using our loved ones as leverage," Harry realized. "It gets worse," Neville continued grimly. "Umbridge has been named head of a new department, the Committee for Magical Being Management. She's been given emergency powers to contain the creature insurrection." Harry's jaw tightened. "So Kingsley talks peace while Umbridge prepares for war. What do we do?" Harry considered their options. "We accelerate our plans. If the Ministry wants to escalate, we'll show them what a true united magical front looks like." He turned to Luna. "Contact all sanctuary locations. It's time to activate the regional Unity Councils. And I need to speak with Hermione." "Hermione?" Luna looked surprised. "Do you know where she is?" "No. But I have a theory." Harry pulled out his communication mirror. "Hermione Granger," he spoke clearly into its surface. For several long moments, nothing happened. Then the mirror's surface rippled, and Hermione's face appeared, looking tired but determined. "Hello, Harry," she said simply. "Where have you been?" he asked, relief mixing with concern. "Research," she replied cryptically. "Important research. The kind that could change everything. The Ministry's looking for you. They think you've joined us." "I haven't joined anything yet," she clarified. "But I've discovered something you need to know. Something about your new abilities and why the Ministry fears them so much." Harry's interest sharpened. "Can you come to Gringotts? We've secured it as our headquarters." "So I've heard," she said with a hint of her old exasperation. "That was either brilliant or insane, depending on your perspective." "Probably both," Harry admitted. "But it worked." "I'll come tonight," Hermione decided. "There's someone I need to bring with me. Someone who can explain things better than I can." "Who?" "An unspeakable who defected from the Department of Mysteries. She's been helping me understand what's happening with magical being integration." Hermione leaned closer to the mirror. "Harry, what you're doing, combining magical traditions, it's not just revolutionary politically. It's awakening something that's been suppressed for centuries." "Luna's found similar indications in her father's research," Harry confirmed. "It goes deeper than you think," Hermione insisted. "The divisions between magical species weren't just cultural or political, they were magically enforced. And now those barriers are breaking down. Before Harry could ask more questions, a commotion in the background caught Hermione's attention. "I have to go. We'll be there by midnight. Look for us at the south employee entrance." The mirror went blank, leaving Harry with more questions than answers. He turned to find Ragnarok watching him thoughtfully. "Your friend speaks of the Great Sundering," the goblin said quietly. "The what?" "A goblin legend. A time when wizard kind deliberately severed the connections between magical traditions to enhance their own power." Ragnarok's expression was unusually solemn. "If those connections are truly reforming, then what? Then magic itself is choosing sides in this conflict, Potter. And that makes our cause more significant than even you may realize." As night deepened, Harry found a quiet moment to process everything that had happened. From the stone balcony overlooking Diagon Alley, he could see the Ministry forces maintaining their perimeter around Gringotts. Beyond them, growing crowds of civilians gathered, some in protest, others in support. The revolution was no longer happening in the shadows. It had burst into public consciousness. Luna joined him on the balcony, her silvery eyes reflecting the wand light from below. "Quite a view, isn't it? All those people trying to decide which side of history they want to be on. Do you think we're doing the right thing?" Harry asked softly. "Starting what could become a magical civil war?" "I think," Luna replied carefully, "that wars start when injustice becomes unbearable, not when people finally stand against it." She took his hand. "The conflict was already here, Harry. It was just invisible to those who weren't suffering under it." Harry squeezed her hand gratefully. Over the past weeks, Luna had become his closest confidant and advisor. Her unique perspective cut through confusion when others saw only complications. "There's something I've been meaning to tell you," he said. "About these new abilities." "What about them?" "They're stronger when you're nearby," Harry admitted. "When I'm connecting with different magical energies, your presence makes the connections clearer, more stable." Luna smiled. "That makes sense. My mother's research suggested that emotional connections can enhance magical ones. The people we care about amplify our magical potential." "Is that what it is?" Harry asked. "Caring. Isn't it?" Luna turned to face him fully. "You've always been powerful, Harry, but now you're channeling magic that comes from genuine connection, not just technique or raw power. It's magic based on mutual respect and understanding." Harry considered this. Throughout his life, his strongest magic had always emerged when protecting those he cared about. Perhaps these new abilities were simply an evolution of that same principle, expanded to include all magical beings in his circle of concern. "I care about you," he said simply. "More than I expected to. More than I probably should, given everything that's happening." Luna's smile deepened. "Caring isn't a weakness, Harry. It's why your leadership inspires rather than commands. It's why creatures who've never trusted wizards trust you." Before Harry could respond, a silvery otter Patronus swam through the air between them. Hermione's voice emanated from it, "Change of plans. Ministry intercepted us. Heading to emergency rendezvous point. Sending coordinates separately. Be careful, traitor in your ranks." The Patronus dissolved, leaving them staring at each other in alarm. "Traitor?" Luna whispered. "But who?" A deafening explosion rocked the foundations of Gringotts, cutting off her words. Alarm bells began ringing throughout the bank. "We're under attack." Neville's voice shouted from inside. Harry and Luna rushed back into the bank to find chaos unfolding. Smoke poured from one of the lower tunnels leading to the vault levels. Goblins ran in organized patterns, implementing security protocols. "What happened?" Harry demanded as Ragnarok approached. "Explosive breach in the lower southeast tunnel," the goblin reported grimly. "Ministry forces are entering through a previously unknown access point." "That's impossible," Harry argued. You said all access points were secured. All known access points, Ragnarok corrected. This appears to be a newly created tunnel. Hermione's warning echoed in Harry's mind. A traitor in your ranks. Someone had provided the Ministry with information on how to breach their defenses. Defensive positions. Harry ordered. Neville, coordinate the upper-level defense. Luna, activate our emergency communication network, warn all Unity locations that security may be compromised. As his allies rushed to their tasks, Harry extended his magical senses toward the breach. He detected approximately 30 magical signatures moving rapidly through the lower tunnels, Aurors, led by what felt like a particularly powerful wizard. They're coming up the southeast stairwell, Harry reported to Ragnarok. Can we seal it? Already done, the goblin replied. But it will only slow them. They have cursebreakers with them. Harry made a quick decision. We need to split their forces. Nippy. The house elf appeared at his side. Yes, Harry Potter. Create a distraction in the northwest tunnels. Make it sound like we're evacuating in that direction. Nippy nodded and disappeared with a pop. Harry turned to the goblin warriors gathering in the main hall. Ragnarok, have your people ready but hidden. Let the Ministry forces enter the main hall before engaging. We want to capture, not harm them. As they prepared their trap, Harry continued monitoring the magical signatures below. The attackers had indeed split into two groups, with the smaller contingent heading toward Nippy's distraction. The main force continued toward the central hall, breaking through the sealed stairwell with concerning speed. They're almost here, Harry warned. Everyone ready? His diverse group of allies took their positions, house elves concealed behind pillars, goblins hidden in teller booths, centaurs with bows ready in the side galleries. Harry, Luna, and Neville stood openly in the center of the hall, appearing to be caught unprepared. The main doors to the stairwell burst open, and Aurors poured into the hall, wands raised. Behind them strode a figure that made Harry's blood run cold, Dolores Umbridge, dressed in her signature pink but now adorned with official-looking badges and medals. Mr. Potter, she said in that sickeningly sweet voice he remembered all too well. How delightful to find you so, exposed. Umbridge, Harry acknowledged coldly. Still torturing children, or have you moved exclusively to persecuting magical beings now? Her false smile tightened. Such dramatics. I am simply enforcing necessary regulations to protect wizard society from dangerous half-breeds and creatures. The only danger to society is bigots like you gaining power, Harry replied. How did you get in? Which of our people did you threaten or bribe? Umbridge's smile widened unpleasantly. Now, Mr. Potter. A good Ministry official never reveals her sources. As she spoke, Harry noticed one of the goblin tellers shifting nervously behind his counter, not one of Ragnarok's trusted warriors, but an older goblin who had been working when they took the bank. The goblin's magical signature pulsed with fear and guilt. You promised the goblins concessions, Harry realized. Special exemptions from your regulations in exchange for helping you retake the bank. Some creatures can be reasoned with, Umbridge replied dismissively. When properly motivated by self-interest. And you believe they'll trust you to keep your word? Luna asked, genuine curiosity in her voice. After centuries of broken wizard promises? Umbridge's attention shifted to Luna. Miss Lovegood. Your father will be interested to know of your capture. Perhaps it will improve his cooperation. Luna's expression hardened, a rare anger flashing in her usually serene eyes. Where is he? What have you done to him? He's quite safe. For now. Umbridge turned back to Harry. This little insurrection of yours is over, Mr. Potter. The minister was too soft, believing we could negotiate with terrorist sympathizers. Fortunately, the Wizengamot has granted me emergency powers to handle the creature crisis properly. Harry felt the magical energies of his concealed allies growing restless, eager to spring the trap. He needed to keep Umbridge talking, draw more of her forces into the hall. And what exactly does properly entail, he asked, subtly signaling his allies to wait. Containment. Registration. Proper hierarchical organization of magical society. Umbridge spoke as if explaining something obvious to a child. Magical creatures must understand their place in the natural order. With pure-blood wizards at the top, of course, Harry noted sarcastically. Those with the capacity to properly wield and control magic should guide those without, Umbridge replied primly. It's for their own good, really. Left to their own devices, magical creatures would destroy themselves and others. Harry had heard enough. With a subtle hand signal, he activated their trap. Instantly, house elves apparat behind the Aurors, disarming several before they could react. Goblin warriors emerged from hiding, activating magical barriers that separated the Aurors into smaller, manageable groups. Centaurs loosed warning shots that pinned several ministry officials to the wall by their robes. But Umbridge was faster than Harry anticipated. She flicked her wand, activating some kind of prepared spell that created a pink barrier around herself and her personal guard. "Did you think I came unprepared, Mr. Potter?" she simpered. "I've studied your little creature army's techniques." Harry felt something strange about her magic. It seemed artificially enhanced, as if she were drawing power from an external source. Before he could analyze it further, Umbridge launched an attack. The spell that erupted from her wand wasn't the moderate magic he remembered her using at Hogwarts. This was something far more powerful, a sickly pink wave of energy that slammed into Harry's hastily raised shield with shocking force. The impact drove him back several steps, his shield cracking under the pressure. Luna and Neville added their magical strength to his, reinforcing the barrier just before it shattered. "Something's wrong," Luna said urgently. "Her magic shouldn't be that strong." "She's using an amplifier," Neville realized. "Look at that brooch." Harry noticed the large, gem-encrusted brooch on Umbridge's pink cardigan. It pulsed with magical energy that didn't match her own signature. "Impressive, isn't it?" Umbridge noticed their attention. "A little creation from the Department of Mysteries. It channels and amplifies magical energy from multiple sources." Her smile turned cruel. "Including some unwilling donors from your precious creature allies we've captured." Horror and rage surged through Harry. She was using imprisoned magical beings as magical batteries, draining their energy to power her spells. "That's torture," he growled. "And illegal even under ministry law." "Emergency powers make many things possible," Umbridge replied dismissively. "Sacrifices must be made for the greater good." While they spoke, Harry noticed his allies continuing to subdue the regular Aurors, many of whom seemed confused and reluctant to fight once they realized what Umbridge was doing. Only her personal guard, a group of wizards wearing special pink-trimmed robes, fought with genuine zeal. Harry needed to neutralize Umbridge's amplified magic before confronting her directly. Reaching out with his enhanced senses, he identified the magical signature of the brooch. It contained essences that felt like werewolf, house elf, and something else, something familiar. "Luna," he whispered. "The brooch is drawing power from multiple magical beings. I think I can disrupt it, but I'll need to channel opposing energies." Luna understood immediately. She subtly reached out, taking Harry's left hand while he kept his wand raised with his right. Through their connection, Harry could access Luna's unique magical signature, neither purely wizard nor creature, but something that bridged multiple magical traditions thanks to her mother's experimental work and her own lifetime of openness to all magical beings. Drawing on this connection, Harry began a complex counterspell, not attacking Umbridge directly but targeting the magical frequencies of her amplification brooch. He wove together threads of house elf magic, goblin metal sense, and wizard precision, creating an unraveling charm designed to disconnect the power sources within the brooch. Umbridge, realizing what he was attempting, intensified her attack. Pink lightning crackled from her wand, forcing Harry to divide his concentration between defense and his delicate counterspell. "You cannot win, Potter," she declared. "The full might of the Ministry stands behind me." Look around you, Umbridge, Harry replied through gritted teeth. Your Aurors are standing down. Even they can see this is wrong. It was true. Throughout the hall, Ministry forces were surrendering to the Unity allies, many looking disgusted at Umbridge's methods. Only her personal guard continued fighting with diminishing effectiveness. Harry felt his counterspell taking effect. The brooch's magical signature began fluctuating as the connections between its power sources weakened. Umbridge must have felt it too, for her expression changed from confidence to alarm. No, she shrieked, clutching at the brooch. This is impossible. With a final, precise magical thrust, Harry completed his counterspell. The brooch shattered, releasing a cloud of multicolored magical energy that dispersed throughout the hall. Umbridge staggered backward, suddenly deprived of her amplified power. Without the brooch's enhancement, her shield charm collapsed. Before she could recover, Luna cast a perfect impediment jinx that froze Umbridge in place, her face locked in an expression of outraged disbelief. The remaining members of her guard, seeing their leader defeated, surrendered. The battle for Gringotts was over. In the aftermath, Harry approached the frozen Umbridge. You represent everything that's wrong with the Ministry, he told her quietly. Power without compassion. Authority without responsibility. Magic without understanding. He turned to Ragnarok. Secure her in one of the high-security vaults. Make sure she's treated humanely but kept isolated. She'll stand trial when we've established proper justice for all magical beings. As Umbridge was led away, Harry addressed the captured Aurors. You were following orders. I understand that. Now you have a choice. Join us in building a more just magical society, or remain loyal to a corrupt system that exploits both you and the beings it claims to regulate. To his surprise, several Aurors immediately stepped forward, removing their ministry insignia. One spoke for the group. We joined the Auror office to protect people. All people. What Umbridge is doing, it's not protection. It's oppression. The defection of Ministry Aurors marked a significant turning point. As news spread throughout the magical community, public opinion began shifting. The Prophet's attempts to paint the Unity as terrorists faltered in the face of Umbridge's exposed crimes and the testimony of respected Aurors who had witnessed them firsthand. Later that night, as promised, Hermione arrived with her mysterious companion, a tall, austere witch with silver-streaked black hair and the unmistakable bearing of an unspeakable. Harry, this is Madame Evelyn Croker, Hermione introduced them. Former head researcher of the Being Integration Division in the Department of Mysteries. A division I didn't know existed, Harry remarked, shaking the woman's hand. Few do, Madame Croker replied, her voice crisp and academic. Its existence is classified at the highest levels. Its purpose was, to study and contain information about the magical integration abilities you're now manifesting. They gathered in a secure conference room deep within Gringotts. Present were Harry, Luna, Neville, Hermione, Madame Croker, Ragnarok, Firenze, and representatives from each magical species in their coalition. I'll be direct, Madame Croker began. What you're experiencing, Mr. Potter, this ability to channel and combine different magical traditions, is not new. It's very, very old. Ancient, in fact. And the Ministry has been suppressing knowledge of it for centuries. Why? Harry asked. Because it undermines the entire foundation of wizard supremacy, she explained. The separation of magical traditions wasn't natural, it was engineered, deliberately, during the formation of the First Wizards' Council, predecessor to the Ministry. Hermione spread out ancient documents on the table, copies she'd smuggled from restricted archives with Madame Croker's help. These records detail something called the Concordance, Hermione explained. A magical ritual performed around 800 CE that artificially divided magical energies along species lines. The Sundering, Ragnarok murmured. Our legends speak of it. Precisely, Madame Croker nodded. Before the Concordance, magical beings of all kinds shared their knowledge and abilities freely. Humans could learn goblin metal magic. Centaurs taught humans star magic. House elves shared spatial manipulation techniques with anyone who showed aptitude. What changed? Luna asked, though her expression suggested she already suspected the answer. Power, Madame Croaker said simply. Human wizards discovered they could channel multiple types of magic more effectively than other beings because of our adaptable nature. Rather than using this gift to benefit all, a faction led by early pureblood families decided to monopolize it. The concordance ritual, Hermione continued, created magical barriers between species. After its completion, each magical being could only access their own innate magical tradition. Wand use was restricted to humans only, further cementing wizard dominance. But something's changing now, Harry surmised. The barriers are weakening. Yes, Madame Croaker confirmed. The department has been monitoring a gradual degradation of the concordance boundaries for decades. Voldemort's rise and fall accelerated the process, particularly his experiments with soul magic and the unprecedented magical events surrounding your connection to him, Mr. Potter. And now I'm somehow bypassing these barriers completely. You're not just bypassing them, Hermione said excitedly. You're actively dissolving them. Every time you successfully combine magical traditions, you weaken the concordance further. It's like untying a knot that's been bound for 1,000 years. The implication stunned everyone in the room. Harry's abilities weren't just politically revolutionary, they were magically transformative, unwinding centuries of artificial magical separation. This explains the Ministry's extreme reaction, Luna reasoned. If knowledge of this spread widely, their authority collapses, Ragnarok finished. The entire justification for wizard governance of magical beings disappears. Is that why Umbridge had that magical amplifier? Harry asked. A desperate attempt to keep up with our combined magic. Exactly, Madame Croaker confirmed. The Department of Mysteries has been experimenting with artificial methods to bridge magical traditions since they realized the barriers were failing. Umbridge's brooch was a crude, exploitative version of that research. So what happens if the concordance falls completely? Neville asked the question everyone was thinking. Madame Croaker and Hermione exchanged glances. We don't know exactly, Hermione admitted. But based on historical records from before the separation, magic itself becomes more cooperative. More harmonious. Spells cast with combined intentions from multiple traditions would be exponentially more powerful and effective. A new age of magical advancement, Luna mused. One that benefits all magical beings, not just wizards. Or chaos, Ragnarok cautioned. After a millennium of separation, sudden reintegration could be destabilizing. Which is why we need to guide the process, Harry decided. Not fight against it like the Ministry, but not rush headlong into it either. We need to understand what we're unleashing. The discussion continued late into the night, with each representative offering perspectives from their species' historical knowledge. Patterns emerged, stories in every tradition about a golden age before the Great Division, when magic flowed more freely and powerfully among all beings. As dawn approached, Harry synthesized what they had learned into a new strategic direction for the Unity. Our goal remains the same, he told the assembled council. Equal rights and representation for all magical beings. But now we understand the deeper magical context. We're not just fighting Ministry regulations, we're unwinding a millennium of magical suppression. This changes our approach, Luna added. Instead of just confronting the Ministry politically, we should be actively promoting magical cooperation and integration. Exactly, Harry agreed. Let's establish integration centers in our sanctuary locations, places where different magical beings can safely share their traditions and learn from each other. And demonstrations, Hermione suggested. Public displays of cooperative magic that show the benefits of integration rather than just the political conflict. The council unanimously approved this expanded vision. As the meeting concluded, representatives departed to communicate the new understanding to their respective communities. Harry remained behind with Luna, Neville, and Hermione, processing the night's revelations. All this time, he said quietly, I thought we were just fighting for political rights. But we're part of something much bigger, a fundamental magical transformation. It's always been about more than politics, Luna observed. The artificial divisions between magical beings created both magical and social barriers. They're two sides of the same coin. Which means solving one helps solve the other, Neville added thoughtfully. Exactly, Hermione confirmed. Every act of cooperation between magical traditions strengthens both our political position and the natural magical integration process. Harry stood at the window overlooking Diagon Alley, where morning sunlight now illuminated the scene. The Ministry forces had withdrawn to a respectful distance overnight, maintaining their presence but no longer in assault formation. Beyond them, civilian crowds had grown, many holding signs supporting the unity. The Ministry has about 12 hours left in our deadline, Harry noted. But regardless of their response, we keep moving forward. Liberation of Gringotts was just the beginning. What's our next move? Neville asked. Harry turned back to his friends, his expression resolute. We bring our case directly to the people. Not just Wizard Society, but all magical communities across Britain. It's time everyone learned the truth about the Concordance and what it means for our collective future. A magical awakening, Luna smiled, taking his hand. I think my father would approve. Speaking of your father, Harry replied, squeezing her hand, rescuing him and the other detained supporters moves to top priority. The Ministry's shown they'll use our loved ones as leverage. We'll need intelligence on where they're being held, Hermione cautioned. Already working on that, Harry assured her. Our network inside the Ministry is growing by the hour as more employees learn what Umbridge has been doing. As the others departed to begin implementing their expanded strategy, Harry remained at the window, reflecting on how far they'd come in such a short time. What had begun as a stand against unfair regulations had evolved into a movement that could fundamentally transform magical society. The Unity was no longer just fighting against oppression, they were fighting for a new world where the artificial barriers between magical beings would dissolve, allowing magic itself to flow naturally once again. It was a vision worth any sacrifice, any risk. The gathering storm was reaching its peak. Soon it would break, washing away centuries of division and opening the path to a united magical future. Chapter 3, Britain Transformed. Dawn broke over Gringotts as Harry stood on the bank's highest balcony, watching the golden light spread across magical London. Behind him, the newly established command center buzzed with activity. Representatives from every magical species coordinated operations, planned sanctuary expansions, and monitored Ministry movements. In just weeks, the Unity had transformed from a desperate band of fugitives into a revolutionary force that controlled significant portions of magical Britain. Kingsley's deadline passed an hour ago, Luna said, joining him at the balcony rail. No response. Harry nodded, unsurprised. They're playing for time. Evacuating key facilities, strengthening defenses at strategic locations. According to our sources, the Wisengamot spent the entire night arguing, Luna added. Half want to negotiate, half want to crush us completely. Umbridge's faction is pushing for the creature suppression approach. And Kingsley? Caught in the middle, apparently. Luna handed him a steaming mug of tea. The progressive wing support some of our demands, but they're afraid of our methods. The conservatives won't budge on creature rights at all. Harry sipped the tea, grateful for its warmth in the cool morning air. Then we proceed as planned. Is everyone ready? All strike teams are in position. Luna's typically dreamy expression had sharpened over the past weeks, focused by the high stakes of their revolution. Ragnarok's teams have infiltrated the financial networks. The werewolf packs are positioned near the transportation hubs. Merepeople have surrounded the coastal communications arrays. House elves have infiltrated key Ministry facilities. And the extraction team? Neville's leading them personally. They'll move on Azkaban as soon as the main operations begin. Harry checked his watch, a special creation that monitored magical activity patterns across Britain. The hands pointed to peak ministry operations, indicating the government facilities were at their busiest. Perfect timing, he noted. Government personnel fully engaged, maximum confusion when systems start failing. Luna studied him carefully. You've changed, you know. The Harry I first met would have charged in directly, wand blazing. He smiled ruefully. That Harry didn't have much success changing the system. This approach suits you better, she said, touching his arm lightly. Strategic. Measured. But still fighting for what's right. Below them in Diagon Alley, Ministry forces maintained their cordon around Gringotts, though they'd made no move to attack since Umbridge's disastrous attempt. Beyond them, civilian crowds had continued growing, some protesting the unity, others supporting it, many simply watching history unfold. Harry's mirror activated with Hermione's call sign. He answered to find her face tense with excitement. "We're ready at the Prophet," she reported. "Press team in position." "Good. Wait for the signal, then proceed as planned." He paused. "Be careful. The Prophet offices will be heavily guarded." "Nothing our combined magic can't handle," she replied confidently before ending the connection. Luna checked her own communication device, a modified galleon similar to the ones they'd used for Dumbledore's army. "All teams reporting ready. We're just waiting on you." Harry took a deep breath. This was the moment of commitment, beyond negotiation, beyond retreat. Once their coordinated operations began, they would either succeed in transforming magical Britain forever or fail catastrophically. "Send the activation signal," he decided. "Operation Unity begins now." Luna tapped her wand to the master communication crystal. It flashed briefly before sending magical pulses across their network. Throughout Britain, Unity cells would be receiving the signal to begin their synchronized actions. "It's done," she said quietly. "No turning back now." Harry nodded grimly. "Now we wait for first reports and prepare our own part." They didn't have to wait long. Within minutes, their communication center lit up with incoming messages. On the large magical map dominating the central table, indicators began changing color as Unity teams took control of key magical infrastructure. "Flu network control fully secured," reported a Goblin analyst. "All transportation now rerouted through Unity checkpoints." "Night bus depot neutralized without resistance," came another report. "Drivers have joined our cause. Wireless wizarding network broadcasting tower under mere people control. They've begun broadcasting our transparency messages." One by one, the pillars of wizard infrastructure fell under Unity control. Not through destruction or violence, but through precision takeovers executed by magical beings intimately familiar with the systems they maintained but had never been permitted to control. Harry moved among the stations, monitoring progress and making tactical adjustments. When a house elf team reported unexpected resistance at the Ministry's Portkey office, he redirected a Centaur support group to reinforce them. When the werewolf pack at King's Cross faced anti-creature wards, he provided a counterspell that combined wizard and goblin magic to neutralize them. The beauty of this plan, Luna observed, watching Harry coordinate, is that most of these systems were always maintained by the very beings now taking control of them. "Exactly," Harry agreed. "House elves have always kept the Ministry running behind the scenes. Goblins have always managed the financial networks. Mere people have always protected the underwater communication lines. We're not destroying infrastructure, we're reclaiming it." A flash of silver light announced the arrival of a Patronus, a familiar-looking otter that spoke with Hermione's voice. "Daily profit secured. Printing presses under our control. First truthful edition in decades now being distributed. Minimal resistance from staff, most journalists actually supportive once we explained our purpose. Awaiting further instructions." Harry grinned. Taking control of wizard media had been a crucial component of their plan. For too long, the Prophet had shaped public opinion through ministry-approved propaganda. Now they could finally present the truth about the Unity's goals and the historical suppression of magical beings. Send her the main concordance documentation, he instructed a nearby assistant. Full historical evidence of how wizard society engineered the magical separation. Lead with that. Another communication crystal activated, showing Neville's face. Azkaban team successful, he reported, though he looked somber. We've liberated all political prisoners, including Luna's father and the other Unity supporters. But Harry, the conditions were horrible. They've been subjected to experimental magic-suppressing treatments. Some are in bad shape. Harry's jaw tightened. Get them to the medical sanctuary immediately. Full treatment protocols. Already en route. But there's something else. Neville hesitated. We found records of Umbridge's special project. It's worse than we thought, Harry. She's been developing something called the Purification Wave, a spell designed to permanently suppress magical abilities in beings classified as non-human. A chill ran through the command center as those words registered. Not just restriction or control, but actual magical suppression, effectively destroying what made each magical species unique. Where is this project based? Harry demanded. Hogwarts, Neville replied grimly. They've converted the Room of Requirement into a specialized research facility. According to the records, the spell is nearly operational. Harry exchanged alarmed glances with Luna. Hogwarts? How could McGonagall allow? She wouldn't, Luna interrupted. Not willingly. McGonagall and most of the staff are listed as contained in these records, Neville confirmed. Apparently they're being held in the dungeons after protesting the Ministry's takeover of the school. Harry made an immediate decision. Change of plans. All available strike teams redirect to Hogwarts. This purification wave is now our primary target. As orders went out across their network, Harry turned to Luna. We need to move to Hogwarts immediately. If they've got this weapon nearly operational. I'm coming with you, she said firmly. I wasn't going to suggest otherwise, Harry replied with a quick smile. Your father? Stable but weak, according to Neville's report. He'll be better served at the healing sanctuary than by having me hover over him right now. Harry nodded, then addressed Ragnarok and the other Unity Council members. Continue securing infrastructure and communication networks. Maintain defensive postures at all locations. No unnecessary risks. And you? Ragnarok asked. We're taking the fight directly to the Ministry's heart, Harry replied. At Hogwarts. Within the hour, Harry and Luna had assembled an elite strike team at the rally point near Hogsmeade. Hidden in the forested hills overlooking the village, they could see Hogwarts Castle in the distance, its normally welcoming silhouette now ominous with Ministry flags flying from its towers. Their team included representatives from each major magical species, Firenze and 2 combat-trained centaurs, 3 werewolves led by Callum, a goblin demolition squad under Ragnarok's nephew, Nippy, and 4 house elves specialized in infiltration, a delegation of mere-people who could operate on land for limited periods, and a dozen wizard allies including Neville, Hermione, and several defected Aurors. Reports indicate at least 50 Ministry forces inside the castle, Harry briefed them. Mostly Aurors, plus Umbridge's special security team. They're using the Great Hall as their command center. The Room of Requirement on the 7th floor houses the Purification Wave apparatus. The professors? Hermione asked anxiously. Detained in the dungeons, along with any students who resisted the Ministry presence. How do we approach? Callum questioned, his werewolf senses already scanning the grounds. Multiple entry points, Harry replied, unfolding a detailed map of Hogwarts. The castle's primary defenses recognize me and most of our wizard allies as friendlies. They should allow our initial entry before the Ministry forces can override them. He indicated various positions on the map. House elves will enter first through their own passages, conducting reconnaissance and disabling any anti-being wards. Mere people will approach through the lake and secure the underwater entry points. The rest of us will split into 3 teams, main entrance, astronomy tower, and through the old boathouse passages. Objectives? Ragnar's nephew asked in the practical manner of goblins. Team 1 liberates the professors and students. Team 2 secures the Great Hall and Ministry Command Center. Team 3, which I'll lead, neutralizes the purification wave in the Room of Requirement. Luna pointed to a section of the map. We should add a 4th team for the Ollery and Communications Tower. If we control those, we can broadcast what's happening directly to the wider wizard community. Good thinking, Harry agreed. Hermione, can you lead that team? She nodded confidently. With pleasure. Harry looked around at the diverse group of magical beings, natural enemies in the old world, now united by common purpose. This isn't just about stopping Umbridge's weapon. Hogwarts symbolizes magical education and tradition. By reclaiming it, we show that the unity stands for magical advancement and cooperation, not destruction. And if they resist? One of the defected Aurors asked. Non-lethal force only, Harry emphasized. Many ministry employees are just following orders. Our quarrel is with the policy, not the individuals enforcing it. Unless it's Umbridge, Luna added with uncharacteristic coldness. She's personally responsible for torture, imprisonment, and this weapon. She faces justice. There were grim nods of agreement around the circle. With roles assigned and communication crystals synchronized, the Unity Strike Force moved into position as dusk approached. The fading light would provide cover for their initial approach while still giving them visibility for operations inside the castle. Harry watched from their vantage point as the house elves disappeared with quiet pops, beginning the first phase of infiltration. Minutes later, ripples in the Black Lake signaled the merpeople's underwater approach. First teams in position, Luna reported, monitoring the communication crystal. House elves report minimal elf-specific wards, they've neutralized them. Merpeople have secured the underwater entrance. That's our cue, Harry said, standing. All teams advance. Remember, precision, not power. We want to control the castle, not damage it. Harry's team, consisting of himself, Luna, Callum, 1 centaur named Emberstride, and 2 goblin specialists, made their way toward the secret passage from the boathouse. As they approached the castle grounds, Harry felt the ancient wards recognize him, welcoming him home despite the ministry's attempts to override them. Hogwarts remembers its students, he murmured, feeling the castle's semi-sentient magic respond to his presence. They reached the boathouse without incident, finding the passage already opened by their house elf advance team. As they entered the narrow tunnel leading up to the castle, Harry extended his magical senses, feeling for ministry defenses. Detection charms ahead, he whispered. Standard Auror security grid. Luna smiled. Not designed for combined magic, I'm guessing. Not even close. Harry reached out, connecting to the magical signatures of his diverse team. Drawing on Luna's intuitive pattern recognition, Callum's werewolf stealth magic, Emberstride's centaur earth connection, and the goblin's disruption skills, he crafted a counterfield that simply made the security grid flow around them like water around stones. They passed through undetected, emerging into a rarely used corridor on the castle's ground floor. According to their intelligence, they were now just 2 floors below the Room of Requirement. Team 2 reports engagement at the main entrance, Luna whispered, monitoring communications. Ministry forces responding, but disorganized. Team 1 has reached the dungeons, Callum added, his enhanced hearing picking up the magical transmissions. Professors being liberated now. Perfect, Harry nodded. We move fast while they're distracted. They encountered their first resistance at the 3rd floor staircase, for ministry security wizards guarding the path to the upper floors. Harry signaled his team to halt in the shadows while he assessed the situation. Standard formation, he observed. 2 sentries, 2 ready positions, rotating shield charms. Frontal approach would trigger alarms, one of the goblins noted. Then we don't use a frontal approach, Harry replied. He turned to Luna. Remember fourth year? The ceiling trick during DA practice? She smiled brilliantly. Perfect application. Together, they cast a modified disillusionment charm on the entire team, but instead of the usual camouflage effect, this version bent light upward, making them appear as natural shadows on the floor while their actual bodies remained invisible. As shadow patterns, they slipped past the guards unnoticed, flowing across the stone floor and up the staircase. Only once they reached the fifth floor did Harry reverse the charm, returning everyone to visibility. Impressive, Callum acknowledged. Combined magic again. Luna's unique perspective on light manipulation plus standard concealment, Harry explained. She's always understood that perception is flexible. They continued upward, moving swiftly but cautiously. The sounds of magical combat echoed from distant parts of the castle, the diversionary teams drawing Ministry attention away from their primary objective. As they approached the seventh floor corridor housing the Room of Requirement, Harry halted the team again. Ahead, a contingent of pink-robed security personnel, Umbridge Special Force, guarded a visible doorway. The room shouldn't have a fixed entrance, Luna whispered. They've stabilized it somehow. Forced configuration, Harry agreed. Probably tied to Umbridge's authority. He extended his senses toward the guards, measuring their magical signatures. Unlike regular Aurors, these wizards carried the same artificial magical enhancement Umbridge had used, though on a smaller scale. They've all got mini versions of that amplification device, he warned. Their offensive spells will be stronger than standard. How do we proceed? Emberstride asked, the centaur adjusting his grip on his bow. Harry considered their options. Direct confrontation is risky with those amplifiers. We need to neutralize them first. He turned to the goblin specialists. Can you create a localized disruption field? Something that specifically targets artificial magical enhancement. The older goblin nodded. Goblin countercurses specialize in breaking wizard enhancements. Give us 3 minutes. While the goblins began crafting their specialized countermagic, Harry monitored the other teams via the communication crystal. Team 1 had successfully liberated the professors and students, with McGonagall immediately taking charge of castle defenses. Team 2 had secured the Great Hall after brief resistance, capturing several high-ranking Ministry officials. Hermione's communications team had reached the Ollery and begun broadcasting updates throughout magical Britain. Everything's proceeding according to plan, Luna observed. Almost too easily. I was thinking the same thing, Harry frowned. Where's Umbridge? She should be defending her precious weapon. As if summoned by his question, a sickly pink magical pulse emanated from behind the Room of Requirement's door, strong enough that they all felt it. That can't be good, Callum growled. The goblin specialists looked up from their work, alarmed. That pulse, it's activating something. Powering up. She's starting the weapon, Harry realized with horror. We're out of time for subtlety. He turned to his team. New plan. Frontal assault, full combined magical strength. Without waiting for acknowledgement, Harry reached deep into the magical connections he'd been cultivating for weeks. He felt Luna's presence immediately, the closest and most familiar magical signature. Then Callum's werewolf magic, potent and primal. Emberstride's centaur energy, connected to earth and stars. The goblin's metal and stone affinity. And beyond them, the wider network of Unity members throughout the castle, house elves, mere people, more centaurs, werewolves, even the sympathetic wizard allies. The power that flowed into him was unlike anything he'd experienced before, not just additive but multiplicative, each magical tradition enhancing and amplifying the others in ways that defied conventional understanding. Harry stepped into the corridor, no longer bothering with concealment. The pink-robed guards turned toward him, raising their wands in alarm. Potter, one shouted. Stop or, Harry didn't let him finish. With a gesture that combined wizard wand work, house elf snapping, and goblin metal shaping, he sent a wave of transformation magic down the corridor. The guards' amplification devices, pendants hanging around their necks, simultaneously twisted and shattered, their magical energy harmlessly dissipating. The guards fired spells anyway, but without their enhancements, the attacks were easily deflected by Luna's shield charm, which shimmered with an opalescent quality from her unique magical signature. Callum and Emberstride moved next, the werewolf's speed and the centaur's precision combining in a flanking maneuver that overwhelmed the guards before they could regroup. Within seconds, the corridor was clear. The door, Harry urged, already feeling another, stronger pink pulse building behind it. The goblin specialists approached the enchanted doorway, running their hands over its surface to analyze the locking mechanisms. Multiple wizard locks, reinforced with blood magic, the older goblin reported. Keyed specifically to Umbridge. Can you break it? Harry pressed. Not quickly, the goblin admitted. This is complex work. Harry felt the building pulse growing stronger. They didn't have time for careful solutions. Stand back, he ordered. Luna, with me. As the others cleared the area, Harry and Luna stood side by side before the door. Without speaking, they joined hands, their magical signatures intertwining with practiced ease. Ready? He asked. She nodded, her silver eyes determined. Together. They raised their free hands in identical gestures, drawing not just on their own magic but on the ambient magical energy of Hogwarts itself, the ancient stone, the centuries of spells cast within its walls, the very essence of magical education and cooperation that the castle represented. Revelium Infinitum, they cast simultaneously, using a spell of their own creation that combined unlocking, revealing, and barrier-breaking magic from multiple traditions. The door didn't simply unlock, it dissolved, the wood turning to golden dust that sparkled briefly before disappearing entirely. Beyond it lay the room of requirement, transformed beyond recognition. Gone was the adaptable, helpful space Harry remembered. In its place stood a cold, clinical laboratory centered around a massive crystal apparatus. Pink energy pulsed through tubes and chambers, building toward some ominous crescendo. And standing at the control panel, her toad-like face twisted with malevolent determination, was Dolores Umbridge. Potter, she spat when she saw him. Too late, as usual. The purification wave is already powering up. In 3 minutes, it will spread across Britain, putting all magical creatures in their proper place, magically neutered, as they should be. Harry stepped into the room, his team flanking him. It's over, Umbridge. Your guards are neutralized. The castle is under Unity control. Surrender now. She laughed, a high, girlish sound that had always made his skin crawl. Surrender? When I'm about to save wizard civilization from creature contamination? I don't think so. Harry assessed the crystal apparatus quickly. Its design reminded him of the Flu network control crystal, but corrupted, twisted into something unnatural. Pink energy flowed through it in nauseating patterns. That doesn't purify magic, Luna stated flatly. It perverts it. You're trying to artificially reinforce the concordance barriers. Umbridge's eyes widened slightly. You know about the concordance. Impossible. That information is restricted to the highest levels. The truth has a way of emerging, Harry replied. We know everything, how wizard society engineered the separation of magical traditions, how you've been suppressing combined magic for centuries. It ends today. It most certainly does, Umbridge agreed with a sickening smile. She pressed her hand to the control crystal. But not in the way you imagine. The pink energy surged, the pulse rate increasing dramatically. Displays around the room showed a countdown, 2:30. 2:29, 2:28. What have you done? Harry demanded. Accelerated the deployment, she replied smugly. The wave cannot be stopped now. And its effects will be, most satisfactory. Every centaur, goblin, house elf, merperson, and werewolf in Britain will be permanently stripped of their unique magical abilities. They'll retain just enough magic to serve wizard needs, nothing more. Harry reached out with his magical senses, analyzing the apparatus. The energy flowing through it felt wrong, discordant and artificial, yet undeniably powerful. "We need to disrupt it," he told his team urgently. "Callum, check for physical vulnerabilities. Emberstride, analyze the magical frequencies. Goblins, look for structural weaknesses in the crystalline matrix." As his allies moved to comply, Luna remained at Harry's side, her expression uncharacteristically fierce as she stared at Umbridge. "All this to maintain wizard supremacy," she said quietly. "You'd permanently damage magic itself rather than share power." "Power shared is power diminished," Umbridge replied primly. "Magical beings must be controlled for the greater good." "Your greater good," Harry countered, "not theirs." "They don't know what's best for them," Umbridge insisted. "Creatures lack the cognitive capacity to," she never finished her sentence. Luna, in a move so swift it surprised even Harry, cast a perfect silencing charm that cut off Umbridge's voice mid-word. "That's better," Luna said calmly. "Now we can work without the propaganda soundtrack." Umbridge's face purpled with rage. She drew her wand, but Callum was faster, disarming her with a casual swipe of his clawed hand. "Harry," the older goblin called urgently. "This device is drawing power from multiple sources. The primary crystal contains extracted magical essences." "Extracted?" Harry moved closer, then recoiled in horror as he recognized the magical signatures. "These are harvested from magical beings. She's using their own magic against them." The countdown showed 145 remaining. "Can we destroy it?" Luna asked. "Not safely," the goblin warned. "The contained energy would explode outward, potentially killing everyone in the castle." "Then we need to redirect it," Harry decided. "Change its purpose rather than try to stop it completely." He studied the apparatus, tracing the flow of energy through its components. The design was ingenious in its perversion. It used the natural connections between magical traditions to identify and then sever them permanently. "I have an idea," he said suddenly. "But it's risky, and I'll need help from all of you." "Whatever you need," Luna responded immediately, the others nodding in agreement. "Instead of trying to stop the wave, we modify it," Harry explained quickly. "We can't prevent it from releasing, but we can change what it does when it reaches magical beings." "Change it how?" Callum asked. "Reverse its function. Instead of reinforcing the barriers between magical traditions, make it dissolve them entirely." Emberstride's eyes widened. "You're talking about completely undoing the concordance. All at once. Across all of Britain." "Exactly," Harry confirmed. 1,000 years of artificial separation, ended in one moment. The magical shock would be unprecedented, the goblin specialist warned. "No one can predict the consequences." "Better than Umbridge's alternative," Luna pointed out. The countdown showed 120. "We need to work fast," Harry urged. "Each of you, connect to the apparatus through your native magical tradition. I'll serve as the focal point, redirecting the combined energy." They moved into position around the crystal matrix. Luna placed her hands directly on the main crystal, her intuitive understanding of magical patterns serving as the foundation. Callum pressed his palm against a control node, channeling werewolf wild magic. Emberstride touched his bow to an energy conduit, connecting centaur star magic. The goblins placed metal tools against key structural points, introducing their earth-deep magic. Harry stood at the central control platform, where Umbridge had been standing moments before. From this position, he could feel all the magical connections flowing through the device, and more importantly, he could influence their direction. Umbridge, realizing what they intended, struggled furiously against Callum's restraining grip, her silenced mouth working in what were clearly elaborate threats and curses. "You might want to watch closely, Dolores," Luna suggested pleasantly. "You're about to witness the end of wizard supremacy and the beginning of true magical cooperation. It's quite historic, really." Harry closed his eyes, extending his magical awareness into the heart of the apparatus. The harvested magical essences trapped within recognized him immediately. They responded to his now familiar ability to connect across magical traditions. "The captive magic is answering to me," he told the others. "I can redirect it, but I need more power to override Umbridge's programming." "Take what you need from us," Luna offered. "We trust you." With their permission, Harry deepened the connection, drawing magical energy from his allies while carefully preserving their individual essences. The power flowed into him, a rainbow of magical signatures, each uniquely beautiful and potent in its own way. The countdown reached 0:45. Harry began the delicate process of reprogramming the wave. Where Umbridge had designed it to identify and sever magical connections, he reconfigured it to find and enhance them instead. Where it would have suppressed non-wizard magic, he adjusted it to elevate and integrate all magical traditions equally. The pink energy flowing through the crystal slowly shifted color, first to purple, then blue, and finally a brilliant, shimmering gold that pulsed with the combined essence of all magical traditions. "It's working," Luna breathed, watching the transformation. "Not complete yet," Harry cautioned, sweat beading on his forehead from the effort. "The underlying spell architecture is fighting me." Indeed, patches of pink continued to appear within the golden flow, representing Umbridge's original destructive purpose attempting to reassert itself. "We need more power," the older goblin observed. "More magical variety to complete the transformation." "The other teams," Luna suggested. "Can we connect to them?" "Yes," Harry realized. "The Unity communication network already links us magically." He focused on their communication crystals, extending his awareness through the magical connections to the other Unity teams throughout Hogwarts. Through this network, he could sense them all: house elves in the kitchens, merpeople by the lake entrance, centaurs in the Great Hall, werewolves patrolling corridors, goblin specialists securing vaults, wizard allies coordinating it all. Everyone, he sent through the network. "The weapon is being reconfigured, but we need your magic. Focus on your Unity crystals and offer your power willingly." Throughout the castle, Unity members responded. Harry felt their magic flowing toward him through the network, dozens, then hundreds of unique magical signatures, each contributing their distinctive energy to the collective effort. The countdown showed 0:20. With this influx of diverse magic, Harry completed the reconfiguration. The last traces of pink vanished from the crystal matrix, replaced entirely by the shimmering gold of unified magical traditions. The countdown continued, but now it would trigger something very different from Umbridge's intended purification. "It's done," Harry announced, his voice strained from the effort. "When it releases, it will dissolve the concordance barriers completely." "What will that actually do?" Callum asked, still restraining the silently furious Umbridge. "Honestly? I'm not entirely sure," Harry admitted. "But based on pre-concordance historical records, it should allow all magical beings to access each other's magical traditions freely. The artificial restrictions will disappear." The countdown reached 0:05. "Brace yourselves," Luna warned. "This will be felt by every magical being in Britain." As the final seconds ticked away, Harry maintained his focus on the crystal matrix, ensuring the transformation remained stable. 3, 2, 1. The golden energy surged from the crystal in a massive pulse that passed through walls and bodies alike, completely intangible yet magically potent. It expanded outward from Hogwarts in concentric circles, accelerating as it traveled across the Scottish Highlands, through forests and lakes, over mountains and cities, encompassing all of magical Britain in its radiant wave. Within the room of requirement, the initial pulse knocked everyone off their feet except Harry, who remained standing at the control platform, serving as the wave's conduit and focus. Through his magical connection to the network, he felt the wave's progress, sensed it reaching magical communities across Britain, dissolving the ancient barriers that had separated magical traditions for a millennium. And then, feedback began. As the concordance barriers fell, magical beings everywhere instinctively reached out with their newly liberated magic. These connections flowed back through the Unity network to Harry, creating a two-way exchange of magical knowledge and power unlike anything experienced in recorded history. For a brief, transcendent moment, Harry could feel every magical being in Britain, their unique signatures, their individual powers, their collective potential. Centaurs sharing star wisdom with mere people. House elves teaching spatial magic to goblins. Werewolves exploring transformative magic with wizards. All the artificial divisions crumbling as magic itself celebrated its reunification. When the wave finally dissipated, Harry staggered backward, overwhelmed by the experience. Luna caught him before he could fall, her own eyes wide with wonder. "Did you feel that?" she whispered. "Everyone did," he replied, knowing it was true. Every magical being in Britain just experienced true magical unity for the first time in 1,000 years. Around them, the others were getting to their feet, looking dazed but transformed. Callum's eyes glowed with newfound awareness. Emberstride stood taller, his centaur magic visibly stronger. The goblin specialists examined their hands in wonder, testing unfamiliar magical sensations. Only Umbridge appeared horrified, her silenced mouth working furiously as she witnessed the complete inversion of her life's work. The weapon she had created to permanently suppress non-wizard magic had instead eliminated the final barriers to magical equality. Their communication crystals activated simultaneously as reports flooded in from across Britain. Unity members everywhere described the same phenomenon, a golden wave that passed through them, leaving expanded magical awareness in its wake. "Harry," Hermione's voice came through, breathless with excitement. "What did you do?" "I can sense magical patterns I've never perceived before." "Everyone can." "We reversed Umbridge's weapon," he explained. "Instead of reinforcing the concordance barriers, we dissolved them completely." "It's extraordinary," McGonagall's voice joined the channel. "I've just performed transfiguration with techniques I somehow know from goblin metal shaping. Magic I never formally learned, yet now understand intuitively." Similar reports continued arriving, magical beings everywhere discovering abilities previously locked away from them by the artificial concordance barriers. House elves performing complex wizard spellwork. Centaurs accessing merperson water magic. Goblins working with werewolf transformative techniques. The magical knowledge sharing that had been suppressed for centuries was flourishing spontaneously across Britain. "We should get to the Great Hall," Harry suggested, feeling the need to address the wider Unity forces. "Everyone will have questions about what just happened." As they secured the neutralized weapon and a still silenced Umbridge, Luna maintained contact with their communication network, coordinating the gathering of all Unity members and Ministry prisoners in the Great Hall. They made their way through Hogwarts corridors that now hummed with a new magical resonance. The castle itself seemed more alive, its ancient stones glowing softly with the harmonized magic flowing through them. The Great Hall had been transformed from a Ministry command center back to its traditional arrangement, though now with a significant difference. Instead of 4 house tables, a circular arrangement accommodated beings of all kinds, centaurs standing proudly alongside house elves no longer cowering in subservience, mere people in specially constructed water tanks conversing freely with goblins, werewolves and wizards sharing benches without tension or fear. At the head table sat the liberated Hogwarts professors alongside Unity Council members. McGonagall rose as Harry entered, her normally stern expression softened with wonder. "Mr. Potter," she said, her voice carrying across the hall. "I believe you owe us an explanation of what exactly has just occurred." A hush fell over the assembled crowd as Harry made his way to the center of the room. Luna remained at his side, a steady presence as he faced the combined forces of the Unity and the captured Ministry officials. "Professor McGonagall, Unity members, everyone," Harry began. "What you experienced was the complete dissolution of the concordance barriers, magical restrictions placed upon our world over 1,000 years ago to artificially separate magical traditions along species lines." He explained briefly about the historical suppression, Umbridge's weapon, and how they had reversed its purpose. As he spoke, he could see understanding dawning on faces throughout the hall. Many magical beings had carried cultural memories of this separation without knowing its deliberate nature. The magical expansion you're feeling now is actually a return to our world's natural state, he continued. Before the concordance, all magical beings shared knowledge freely. Magic itself was more cooperative, more powerful when traditions combined rather than competed. And now, called a centaur from the crowd. Now we have a choice, Harry replied. We can embrace this reunification and build a new magical society based on cooperation and shared knowledge. Or we can allow fear and tradition to drive us back into separation. The ministry will never accept this, declared one of the captured officials. This is a fundamental violation of magical law and tradition. The ministry created those laws to maintain wizard supremacy, Luna countered calmly. Laws can be changed. Traditions can evolve. Kingsley Shacklebolt, who had apparently been captured during the Hogwarts takeover, stepped forward from among the ministry prisoners. Harry, he said, his deep voice grave but not hostile. You've initiated a magical transformation with unknown consequences. The stability of our entire society is at risk. The stability of an unjust society should be at risk, Harry replied firmly. For too long, the ministry has maintained order through suppression and artificial hierarchy. We're offering something better, genuine cooperation between all magical beings. And who will govern this new magical order? Kingsley challenged. You. The Unity Council. How is that different from the ministry you've overthrown? It was a fair question, and Harry had been considering it carefully since their revolution began. Not me alone, he answered. And not any single species or faction. We propose a united magical council with representatives from all magical beings. Decisions affecting werewolves will include werewolf voices. Policies concerning goblins will require goblin input. True representation, not token consultation. Murmurs spread through the hall, supportive from Unity members, skeptical from ministry officials, curious from those caught in between. Fine words, Kingsley acknowledged. But revolutions often begin with noble intentions before power corrupts their leaders. What prevents you from becoming what you opposed? Before Harry could answer, Luna stepped forward. The nature of combined magic itself prevents it, she explained. What Harry discovered, what we've all experienced tonight, is that magical power is greatest when freely shared, not hoarded. The very structure of reunified magic encourages cooperation over domination. To demonstrate, she raised her wand and cast a simple Lumos charm. But instead of the standard light, she incorporated elements of merperson bioluminescence, centaur starlight manipulation, and goblin crystal refraction. The result was breathtaking, a three-dimensional constellation of lights that moved in harmonious patterns throughout the hall, responding to the emotions and needs of everyone present. Magic itself has chosen cooperation, she concluded as the lights danced around them. We'd be fools to choose differently. Her demonstration shifted the mood in the hall. Even skeptical ministry officials watched in wonder as the combined magic responded in ways pure wizard spells never could. Harry stepped forward again. We stand at a crossroads in magical history. The choice before us isn't whether to go back. We can't return to artificial separation now that the barriers have fallen. The choice is how we move forward. Together, with mutual respect and shared power. Or in conflict, attempting to re-establish the old hierarchies. He turned to face Kingsley directly. Minister, you have the chance to be part of building something better than what came before. Many in the ministry share our values but were constrained by centuries of tradition and policy. Join us in creating a truly united magical Britain. Kingsley studied Harry carefully, his experienced eyes measuring not just Harry's words but his intent. Finally, he spoke. Your methods have been revolutionary, but your cause has merit, he conceded. If the magical community truly supports this new direction, I won't stand against it. But such fundamental change requires proper process and careful implementation. Agreed, Harry nodded. We propose a transitional period, 3 months during which the United Magical Council will work alongside willing ministry officials to draft new foundational laws and structures. This compromise seemed to satisfy many on both sides. Throughout the hall, conversations erupted as the implications were discussed among the diverse gathering. McGonagall rose from the head table. If Hogwarts is to play a role in this new magical society, I suggest we begin by example. The school should immediately offer education to young magical beings of all kinds, not just wizards and witches. Her proposal received enthusiastic support, particularly from the professors who had long chafed under ministry restrictions on magical education. As the discussion continued, Harry felt a subtle shift in the room's energy. The initial shock and wonder of the Concordance dissolution was evolving into something more productive, genuine collaboration as beings of all kinds began exploring what their new magical reality meant in practical terms. Luna touched his arm gently. "You should address next steps," she suggested quietly. "They need direction while this settles." Harry nodded, returning to the center of the hall. He raised his hands, and the discussions quieted. "Here's what happens now," he announced. "First, we secure the castle and establish Hogwarts as the temporary headquarters for the transitional government. Second, we release communications to all magical communities explaining what has occurred and inviting representatives to join the United Magical Council. Third, we dispatch Unity teams to assist magical beings across Britain as they adapt to expanded magical abilities." He turned to the captured ministry officials. "Those who agree to work constructively with the transition will be released to continue essential services. Those who actively opposed equality or participated in being rights abuses will face fair trials once a judicial system is established." His gaze fell on Umbridge, who sat bound and still silenced, her face contorted with hatred. Some crimes cannot be ignored, even in times of reconciliation. The practical approach seemed to reassure many, particularly the more pragmatic ministry workers who cared more about stability than ideology. Several immediately volunteered to maintain critical services like magical transportation and emergency response during the transition. As the meeting evolved into working groups focused on specific transitional needs, Harry found himself momentarily apart from the activity, watching as magical beings who had been enemies for centuries collaborated with surprising ease. "It's working better than we could have hoped," Hermione observed, joining him. "The magical resonance from dissolving the Concordance seems to be facilitating cooperation naturally." "Magic wants to be shared," Harry replied. "That's what all the historical records suggested. The artificial barriers were working against magic's natural tendency toward synthesis and cooperation." "Still, there will be resistance," she cautioned. "Not everyone will abandon centuries of prejudice overnight." "I know," Harry acknowledged. "But we've created the conditions for change. The rest will take time and persistence." Over the next several days, Hogwarts became the center of a rapidly evolving magical society. The news of the Concordance dissolution spread throughout Britain, drawing magical beings of all kinds to witness and participate in the transformation. The Great Hall hosted daily council sessions where representatives from previously marginalized communities presented their needs and perspectives. House elves spoke confidently about labor rights while demonstrating wizard-level spellcasting. Centaurs shared astronomical predictions that incorporated goblin mathematical precision. Werewolves proposed new approaches to transformative magic that could benefit medical treatment for all beings. Harry made a point of participating without dominating these sessions, consciously positioning himself as a facilitator rather than a ruler. When the question of formal leadership arose, he consistently deferred to the collective wisdom of the council. "My role was to help break down the barriers," he explained when pressed to take a more authoritative position. "Building what comes next requires all of our wisdom, not just mine." This stance earned him even more respect, particularly from magical beings accustomed to wizard dominance. His willingness to share power demonstrated the sincerity of the Unity's founding principles. 1 week after what was now being called the Great Harmonization, a formal ceremony was held to establish the United Magical Council as Britain's new governing body. Representatives from every magical species took oaths to serve the collective good while honoring the unique needs and contributions of each community. Harry, nominated unanimously as First Advocate, accepted a limited leadership role designed to help guide the transition without consolidating power. As he took his oath, standing among equals rather than above them, he felt the rightness of this arrangement. Leadership as service, not dominion. The ceremony concluded with a magical demonstration that would have been impossible before the Concordance dissolution. Representatives from each magical tradition contributed to a combined spell that transformed the Great Hall into a living representation of their new society. Where the enchanted ceiling had once shown only the sky, it now displayed a magnificent tapestry of interconnected magical currents flowing between communities throughout Britain. A visual representation of our magical commonwealth, Luna explained to the gathered assembly. Every light represents a magical community. Every connecting thread shows the flow of shared magic between them. In the weeks that followed, the practical work of transformation continued. Ministry departments were restructured with representative leadership from all affected communities. Gringotts established new financial policies that recognized the economic rights of all magical beings. Transportation networks were redesigned to accommodate the needs of non-human travelers. Educational reforms were implemented to share all magical traditions equally. Not everything proceeded smoothly. Pockets of resistance emerged, particularly among pureblood families who had benefited most from the old hierarchy. Some attempted to re-establish concordance-like barriers within their communities. Others simply withdrew from mixed magical society, creating isolated enclaves. But these reactions were minor compared to the overwhelming embrace of magical integration by the majority. The tangible benefits of combined magic, more effective healing, more efficient transportation, more powerful protective spells, provided practical incentives that overcame ideological resistance. 3 months after the Great Harmonization, as spring bloomed across Britain, preparations began for the first Midsummer Conclave, a gathering of all magical communities to celebrate their new unity and formalize the permanent governmental structure. The site chosen for this historic event was the ancient stone circle near Hogwarts, expanded and enhanced through combined magic to accommodate thousands of participants. As the solstice approached, magical beings from across Britain journeyed to participate in what would be the largest gathering of diverse magical species in recorded history. On the eve of the conclave, Harry stood on the astronomy tower of Hogwarts, watching the steady stream of arrivals. Centaur herds galloped proudly across the grounds. Goblin delegations marched in gleaming ceremonial armor. House elves arrived in colorful, self-designed clothing that reflected their newly expressed individuality. Merepeople established temporary lakes connected to the main waterways. Werewolves, no longer fearing persecution, set up camp in the forests they once hid within. Quite a sight, isn't it? Luna joined him at the balustrade, slipping her hand into his. Over the past months, their partnership had deepened from professional collaboration into something more personal, a connection forged in revolution and strengthened in the building of peace. Beyond anything I imagined when we started, Harry admitted. I just wanted to stop Umbridge's regulations. I never thought we'd end up transforming magical society entirely. I think part of you always knew, Luna replied. You've never accepted artificial limitations, not on yourself, not on others. It's what makes you a good first advocate. Harry smiled at the title, still finding it strange to hear. I'm looking forward to stepping down after tomorrow's ceremony. The transitional period is ending. The permanent council can take it from here. Luna studied his profile in the fading light. And what will Harry Potter do next, when he's no longer leading a revolution or governing a magical society? It was a question he'd been asking himself increasingly over the past weeks. After years defined by prophecy, war, and now revolution, the prospect of choosing his own path felt both liberating and daunting. I'm thinking of focusing on magical education, he said. Not just at Hogwarts, but throughout Britain. Teaching magical beings of all kinds how to integrate their traditions, helping communities discover the possibilities of combined magic. A magical circuit rider, Luna nodded approvingly. Traveling from community to community, sharing knowledge. It suits you. What about you? He asked. The Quibbler is thriving with your father back at the helm. "I'll continue my research into pre-concordance magic," she replied. "There's so much knowledge to recover, so many lost techniques to rediscover." She leaned against him. "And I thought I might travel with a certain magical educator. Document the emergence of new combined techniques. Write the definitive guide to integrated magical practice." Harry wrapped an arm around her shoulders, drawing her closer. "I'd like that." Below them, the Hogwarts grounds continued filling with arrivals for tomorrow's conclave. Among them, Harry spotted familiar faces, Neville leading a group of herbology students of various species, Hermione deep in discussion with a delegation of centaur scholars, Hagrid joyfully greeting a giant contingent. Even Ron had eventually come around, now working with the Transitional Sports Council to make Quidditch and other magical games accessible to all beings. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if the Ministry hadn't gone after Hagrid that day?" Luna asked. "If you hadn't discovered your ability to connect with magical creatures?" Harry considered the question. "Someone else would have eventually. The concordance was already failing. Change was coming, one way or another. But it might have taken decades," Luna pointed out. "Or happened through conflict rather than revolution." "Maybe," Harry acknowledged. "But I prefer to think magic itself chose its moment. When Buckbeak connected with me, when I first felt that shared magical awareness, it felt like remembering something, not discovering something new." Luna nodded. "The ancient druids believed magic is ultimately conscious, not in a human way, but as a force with intention and purpose. They thought magic sometimes chooses champions to guide it toward balance when artificial restrictions become too severe." "That makes me sound more special than I am," Harry demurred. "Not special," Luna corrected. "Available. Open to possibility. Willing to stand against injustice regardless of personal cost." She turned to face him fully. "That's why I love you, you know. Not because you're the boy who lived or the wizard who defeated Voldemort or even the leader who unified magical beings. But because you've always been willing to see beyond artificial barriers, whether between magical species or between people." Her simple declaration warmed him more deeply than any public accolade he'd received. "I love you too," he replied. "For seeing me clearly when others saw only what they wanted to see." Their moment was interrupted by a magical chime indicating the council was gathering for final preparations before tomorrow's ceremony. Hand in hand, they descended from the tower to join their colleagues. The midsummer conclave dawned clear and bright, the solstice sun illuminating the expanded stone circle where thousands of magical beings had gathered. The ceremonial area at the center contained a newly created artifact, the Unity Stone, a massive crystal that incorporated magical elements from all traditions, designed to serve as both symbol and practical tool for their new integrated government. Harry, dressed in simple ceremonial robes that deliberately echoed no specific magical tradition, took his place among the council members. As first advocate, he would oversee the transition of power to the permanent council before formally resigning his position. The ceremony began with representatives from each magical tradition demonstrating the combined magic that now flowed freely between their communities. Centaurs and merpeople created a spectacular water and starlight display. Goblins and house elves showcased revolutionary architectural magic that could create self-adapting dwellings. Werewolves and wizard healers presented new transformative medical techniques. These demonstrations, beyond their ceremonial significance, served a practical purpose, showing the tangible benefits of magical cooperation to any who still harbored doubts. When the time came for the formal establishment of the Permanent United Magical Council, Harry stepped forward to address the gathering. 3 months ago, we stood at a crossroads, he began, his voice magically amplified to reach the entire assembly. Centuries of artificial division had been swept away in a single night. We faced a choice: embrace the natural unity of magic, or cling to the hierarchies that had separated us for a millennium. He gestured to the diverse gathering around them. Look at what we have accomplished by choosing unity. New magic. New cooperation. New possibilities that benefit all magical beings, not just a privileged few. Harry turned to the council members ranged behind him. Today, we complete our transition from revolution to governance. The temporary structures that guided us through the initial changes now give way to permanent institutions designed through the collective wisdom of all magical traditions. One by one, he called forward the elected representatives who would form the permanent council, beings chosen by their communities for their wisdom, not their power. As each took their oath of service, they placed their hands on the Unity Stone, adding their magical signature to its growing network. When all 17 representatives had been installed, Harry placed his own hands on the stone for the final time as first advocate. With this act, I transfer all transitional authority to the United Magical Council, he declared. From this moment forward, no single being or species holds dominion over others. Magic flows where magic will, guided by wisdom rather than controlled by power. The Unity Stone flashed with golden light, recognizing and recording the transfer of authority. As Harry stepped back, the stone continued to glow, now pulsing gently with the combined magical signatures of the new counselors. As my final act before returning to private citizenship, Harry continued, I propose the ratification of the Charter of Magical Rights and Responsibilities, drafted collectively over these past months. The Charter, displayed magically above the stone circle for all to see, enumerated the fundamental principles of their new society: magical education available to all beings, unrestricted practice of native magical traditions, representation in all governance affecting one's community, freedom from magical suppression or exploitation, responsibility to use magic for collective benefit rather than selfish gain. The Assembly voted overwhelmingly to ratify, magical beings of all kinds indicating their support through their own traditional methods, centaurs stamping approval with their hooves, mere people creating affirmative water patterns, house elves conjuring sparks of agreement, wizards raising illuminated wands, and many more. With the charter ratified and the council installed, the formal ceremony concluded. What followed was a celebration unlike anything seen in magical Britain for centuries, a true midsummer festival incorporating traditions from all magical cultures. Harry, now simply a participant rather than a leader, found himself wandering through the festivities with Luna. Released from official responsibilities, they could simply observe and enjoy the world they had helped create. Near the edge of the celebration, they found a quiet spot overlooking both the festival and Hogwarts castle beyond. Children of various magical species played together nearby, experimenting with combined magic techniques with the natural adaptability of youth. They'll grow up in a world where magical integration is normal, Luna observed, watching a young centaur teaching a wizard child how to sense star energy. They'll never know the barriers we had to break. That's the point, isn't it? Harry replied. Creating something better for those who come after us. As they watched, Hermione approached with an excited expression. Harry, Luna. You need to see this. The integration of magical traditions is producing unexpected effects on previously dormant magical sites. She led them to a gathering of researchers near the edge of the Forbidden Forest. There, a phenomenon was unfolding that left even Luna speechless. Plants and trees were responding to the concentrated magical energies of the conclave, growing and transforming in real time. Flowers bloomed in impossible colors. Trees shaped themselves into natural archways. The forest itself seemed to be awakening to new magical possibilities. It's happening throughout Britain, Hermione explained. Ancient magical sites dormant for centuries are reactivating. Stonehenge is generating new ley lines. Avalon is partially rematerializing. It's as if the land itself is responding to the dissolution of the concordance. Magic returning to its natural state, Luna murmured. Not just within beings, but within the environment that sustains us. As evening approached, the celebration continued with a special edition, the first class of students from Hogwarts' new inclusive education program performing a magical demonstration they had created collaboratively. Young wizards, house elves, centaurs, goblins, and others took turns leading different segments of the performance, each showcasing how their traditional magic had been enhanced through integration with others. Their final combined spell created a living magical tapestry above the gathering, images flowing from Britain's magical past through its divided present and into a harmonious future. McGonagall approached Harry as the performance concluded, her expression one of measured satisfaction. Your educational circuit riding will have fertile ground, Potter. These young ones adapt to integrated magic with remarkable ease. They don't have centuries of separation to unlearn, Harry observed. Indeed. They simply see magic as it truly is, unified and cooperative. She adjusted her spectacles. The staff position remains open, should you ever wish for a more permanent teaching arrangement. Harry smiled. Thank you, Professor. I'll keep it in mind for the future. As night fell, the midsummer fires were lit around the stone circle, not ordinary flames but magical fires representing each tradition. Centaur starfire burned blue-white. Goblin forge fire glowed metal red. Merperson phosphorescence shimmered green. Wizard wand fire flickered gold. House elf hearth fire burned warm orange. Each separate, yet part of the greater illumination. Luna drew Harry to a quiet spot between two ancient stones, away from the main celebration but with a perfect view of the magical fires reflecting against the summer sky. Happy? She asked simply. Harry considered the question honestly. Beyond the immediate satisfaction of their revolution's success lay deeper questions about his place in this new world, questions he was still answering for himself. Content, he decided. For the first time, I feel like I've helped build something lasting, something that doesn't depend on me to continue. The true measure of good leadership, Luna agreed. Creating systems that outgrow their founders. They watched as magical beings who would have been enemies or strangers months ago now shared food, music, and magic around the midsummer fires. Children of different species played games that seamlessly incorporated their diverse abilities. Elders exchanged knowledge long kept separate by artificial tradition. We still have challenges ahead, Harry acknowledged. Some pureblood families remain isolated. International magical communities are watching with mixtures of interest and alarm. We'll need to prove that integrated magic strengthens rather than destabilizes society. All true, Luna replied. But tonight, perhaps just enjoy what we've accomplished. Harry smiled, recognizing the wisdom in her suggestion. He had spent so long fighting, against Voldemort, against the Ministry, against magical suppression, that peace felt almost uncomfortable. Learning to exist without immediate crisis would be its own challenge. You're right, he conceded, drawing her closer. Tonight we celebrate. Tomorrow we continue building. As they rejoined the celebration, Harry noticed Ron approaching with Hermione, both looking more relaxed than he'd seen them in months. The strain of divided loyalties had tested their friendship severely, but reconciliation had begun once Ron witnessed Umbridge's extremism firsthand. Quite a party you've thrown, mate, Ron greeted him. Minister for Magic one day, private citizen the next. Most people go in the opposite direction. Most people want power, Harry shrugged. I just wanted things to be right. And now they are. Ron asked, genuinely curious rather than challenging. Harry considered the question. Better, he decided. Not perfect, but better. And improving. Hermione smiled approvingly. That's the most honest assessment of revolution I've heard. Better, not perfect, and improving. Their conversation was interrupted by a commotion near the main fire. A group of children, wizard, house elf, centaur, and goblin, had spontaneously created a new form of combined magic that caused harmless but spectacular eruptions of multicolored light from the flames. Adults gathered around, not to stop them but to learn from them, the younger generation already discovering magical combinations that their elders hadn't yet imagined. That's the future right there, Luna observed. They'll take integrated magic places we can't even conceive. As they watched the children's impromptu magical experimentation, Harry felt a profound sense of rightness. This was what they had fought for, not just equality in an abstract sense, but the practical freedom for all magical beings to contribute their gifts to a collective magical understanding. The midsummer celebration continued long into the night, magical beings of all kinds commemorating not just the solstice but the dawn of a new era in their shared history. Old divisions faded as new connections formed. Ancient rivalries gave way to curious collaboration. The world they had known was gone, replaced by something both older and newer, magical society as it might have been without the Concordance's artificial barriers. In the years that followed, Harry would indeed become the circuit-riding magical educator he had envisioned, traveling throughout Britain with Luna to help communities integrate their magical traditions. Their collaborative guide to combined magic would become the standard text for a generation of students at the transformed Hogwarts. The United Magical Council would face challenges, make mistakes, and achieve triumphs, as any government must. But its fundamental principle of shared magical authority would endure, proving more resilient than the hierarchical structures it replaced. Most importantly, the artificial barriers that had separated magical traditions for a millennium would never return. Magic itself, once liberated from the Concordance's constraints, resisted any attempt to reimpose division. Combined magic simply worked better, more efficiently, more powerfully, more harmoniously, than isolated traditions ever had. As for Harry Potter, the boy who had once been defined by a lightning bolt scar and a terrible prophecy, he found his greatest satisfaction not in the revolution he had led but in the peace he helped sustain. No longer the reluctant weapon against darkness, but a teacher, a bridge builder, and eventually, a father whose children would grow up in a world where magical unity was simply the natural order of things. The wizard world had indeed forgotten Harry Potter for a time, overlooked his warnings, dismissed his concerns, sidelined his influence. Their mistake had been assuming that the boy who lived needed their acknowledgement to make a difference. They had forgotten, to their cost, that Harry Potter had never sought fame or power for their own sake. He had only ever wanted justice, for himself and for others like him, pushed aside by those who valued hierarchy over harmony. In leading the magical creatures of Britain toward revolution, he had fulfilled his truest destiny, not as a prophesied savior, but as a catalyst for change that magic itself had long awaited. And in that transformation, he had finally found what had eluded him since his parents' death, not just a place in the magical world, but a hand in shaping that world into something worthy of magic's deepest potential. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.